Chapter 281, Defending the Wall and Defending the City. Outside the city wall of River Valley City, the missing body was engaged in a fierce battle, slaying half-orcs with all its might. Blood dripped from the long sword in its hand, and the ground around it was littered with half-orc corpses, stumps, and severed limbs. 87, 88. The missing body silently counted the number of enemies it had killed, a hint of excitement breaking through its calm demeanor. Jin's evaluation of it was spot on. One could stop 100. Now, with its physique further strengthened by the Dragon Slayer crystal, that number could easily be doubled. The first wave of half-orcs attacking the city had been decimated 7 or 8 times over, but more and more half-orcs emerged from the cave to support the assault. The mountain of corpses instilled a sense of fear in the newly arrived half-orc army, but instead of seeking other gaps to breach River Valley City, they tacitly decided to avenge their fallen comrades. The gunpowder smoke and blood awakened the ferocity in every half-orc's bones, and almost simultaneously, they all charged at the missing body like a dark wave. The missing body was soon surrounded, with enemies in every direction except for the city wall behind it. "You really think highly of me," it sneered, gripping the long sword with both hands. As the half-orcs closed in, it took a deep breath and unleashed the roar of the fire dragon. Boom! Crimson flames engulfed the surrounding half-orcs, leaving no blind spots. A large group of half-orcs screamed in agony, some reduced to ashes before they could even react. In an instant, the area around the missing body became a dead zone. Even it was a bit surprised by the effectiveness of the attack. If the half-orcs had been scattered, the move might not have had such a devastating effect, killing perhaps a dozen at most. But their decision to encircle it had backfired, more than doubling its kill count. The missing body looked at the frightened orc army ahead, lifted its long sword, and snorted coldly, "Come here if you have the guts." The sound was not loud, but it resonated like thunder in the orc's ears. The leading half-orc glared angrily, then resolutely abandoned the city wall and rushed into River Valley City from other directions. The corpses around them had already proven the ferocity of this individual. Although they had the numbers, a reckless fight would cost them dearly. Moreover, Asog's order was to capture River Valley City. Why waste time on this hard bone when they could bully the people inside? Cut! The missing body curled its lips in disdain, but also felt a sense of relief. Its mana was still sufficient, but its physical strength was waning. Continuing to fight would have been unsustainable. Moreover, a large number of half-orcs had already entered River Valley City. Guarding this spot made little difference now. Ah! At that moment, the missing body heard a familiar scream and frowned. Tilda, Sigrid? These two names flashed in its mind, and it quickly moved to the source of the sound. A group of half-orcs emerged from the street, targeting a dozen old and weak people. Sigrid and Tilda were among them. Tong Tong Petrochemical. 7 or 8 red light clusters precisely hit the team of orcs, causing all the cursed ones to stiffen and fall to the ground. Gaius. Sigrid immediately pulled her sister towards the missing body. "It's great to see you." "Why are you here?" Aaron asked with concern. "Could it be that other places have fallen?" The two sisters exchanged a glance and nodded with difficulty. Half-orcs came in from all directions. The old street is the only area that hasn't been breached yet, but it's probably only a matter of time. Sigrid spoke heavily. "River Valley City has fallen, and we don't even have weapons. I barely escaped with my life." The corners of Aaron's eyes twitched slightly. He had hoped that by defending half of the city wall, he would buy Bard enough time to organize the city's defenses. But now, it seemed he had underestimated the strength of the orc attack. "Bard," Tilda said anxiously, grabbing Aaron's hand. "Brother Gaius, Bane is still fighting the orcs to cover our escape. Please save him." Got it, Aaron replied immediately. "But I don't know anything about this city. You'll have to show me the way." The two sisters felt a bit more at ease and led Aaron through an old street to the place where they had last seen their brother. However, upon arriving, Aaron was taken aback. If he hadn't seen the astonishment in the sisters' eyes, he might have suspected they had led him there on purpose. Bane was nowhere to be seen, but Bard, Gandalf, and Bilbo were there, leading a group of townspeople in a fight against the orcs. "Dad, here we are." Sigrid and Tilda shouted excitedly when they spotted Bard. But the next moment, Aaron covered their mouths. "Don't shout," he whispered urgently. It was too late. Several orcs had noticed them, and there were also 2 ogres, each several meters tall. "Remember, don't yell unless it's safe," Aaron said, a bit tiredly. The 2 sisters nodded hurriedly and hid behind Aaron. At that moment, a figure suddenly rushed out from the alley. It was Bane, panting heavily. "I'll block them. You go first," Bane said, though his hands were shaking. "I appreciate the sentiment, but it's not your turn to play hero," Aaron said. He glanced at Bard and the others who were still fighting and raised his wand helplessly. Expecto Patronum. A Patronus in the form of a raven was summoned, emitting a loud cry. The white shockwave knocked down all the orcs within tens of meters, and even the 2 ogres were forced to retreat. The raven spread its wings, flew up to the ogres, and slit their throats with its claws. The other orcs were not spared either. Bard and the others seized the opportunity to finish off the remaining orcs. Seeing his 3 children safe, Bard breathed a sigh of relief and immediately ordered the others to go support the east wall. "Aaron, why did you come here?" Bilbo asked, somewhat complaining. If Aaron had arrived earlier, their fight wouldn't have been so difficult. "I was guarding the western city wall alone," Aaron said confidently. "I held off hundreds of orcs by myself. Otherwise, the situation in the city would be even more chaotic." "Gaius, can you still use the magic you just did?" Gandalf asked. "What do you think?" Aaron rolled his eyes. "Do you think I can block an army with just a sword and no magic?" "Probably not. Definitely not. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here now. By the way, should you give me an explanation for that ice dragon? I was just borrowing your reputation." The words of a highly respected, gray-robed wizard are more inspiring than those of an unknown person like me, Aaron said, looking at Gandalf meaningfully. "You don't mind, do you?" Gandalf's face twitched, but he suppressed his frustration, forcing a smile that was more of a grimace. "I don't mind, not at all. Come on, Bilbo, let's fight. I really need to kill something right now." "Gaius, I need to ask you a favor," Bard said seriously. "Help me gather the women and children and take them to the church." "Me?" Aaron pointed at himself, dumbfounded. "You really know how to pick people. First, I don't know the way, and second, I don't know the people. How can I help you?" Bard paused for a moment, then looked at his son. "Bon, even if the sky falls, you must stay hidden. Can you do that?" Bon nodded, still confused. Tilda, however, grabbed Bud's hand. "We want to stay with you. You should listen to your father," Alfred interjected, appearing suddenly. "Leave this to me, my lord." He began to drag the 3 siblings aside one by one. When it was Aaron's turn, Alfred hesitated, retracting his hand and offering a sycophantic smile. He had witnessed the young man's magic earlier and recognized his power. If the half-orcs won this war, aligning himself with Aaron could ensure his survival. A look of disdain crossed Bud's face. The other men in the city were either fighting or preparing to fight, but Alfred, despite his dirty clothes, seemed more concerned with self-preservation. "Alfred," Bud reminded him, "only women and children can leave. All men must stay and fight. You need to come back." "Understood. I'll escort the women and children first, then return for further orders," Alfred replied nervously before turning to leave. "That man is not trustworthy," the thought body remarked quietly. "True, he is cowardly, but he poses no threat to anyone," Bud replied. At that moment, a large number of orcs appeared on the street, with countless reinforcements scaling the walls to join the battle. The situation for the humans became dire. Seeing this, Bud raised his long sword and leaped into the street to fight alongside his people. "Are you coming?" he asked. "I don't have much magic power left," the thought body replied. "I plan to go to the church and set up a defensive spell there." "All right," Bud agreed. "But before you go, can you help us with the orcs?" "Of course. Tell your people to fall back. I won't be responsible for any accidental injuries," the thought body said, walking to the middle of the street and positioning itself between the humans and the orcs. Bud quickly understood. "Everyone, fall back. Do not engage the enemy." The thought body shrugged, and flames erupted from its hands, merging to form a massive fireball. "Fire dragons! Huangyan!" Boom! The explosion echoed through the street, engulfing it in flames. Part of the street and the city wall melted, and dozens of orcs and trolls were either incinerated or buried under rubble. The thought body, having unleashed its powerful spell, ignored the stunned onlookers and gasped for breath. "I've done all I can for now. I'll set up the defensive magic at the church. If I have any strength left, I'll return to help," it said before departing. Chapter 282, Soren Sober, The Art of Inspiring Morale. The ice dragons managed to draw away a significant number of war beasts, but the orcs still vastly outnumbered the elves and dwarves, and their numbers continued to swell. The elf's golden armor troops suffered heavy casualties. Thranduil, riding his elk, retreated to the city of River Valley, beheading dozens of orcs along the way. As he entered the city, his mount impaled 8 enemies with its antlers. Just as Thranduil decapitated them with a single sword stroke, his elk was struck by an arrow and fell to the ground. The surrounding orcs quickly besieged him. Thranduil, eyes filled with fury, stood up and fought back with his dual swords. His elven troops also retreated into the valley city, engaging the orcs in fierce combat. The city suddenly became a chaotic battlefield for humans, elves, and orcs. Outside the city, more than half of Dan's iron foot soldiers were killed or injured. Even his wild boar mount perished during the charge. The number of dwarf warriors continued to dwindle amidst the clamor of battle, screams, and cries. In desperation, Dan ordered his troops to retreat to the lonely mountain. What puzzled him was that he hadn't seen Thorin until now. The dwarves, facing an enemy several times their number, were demoralized. What they needed most was their king. In the great hall of Erebor, Thorin sat alone on the throne, staring blankly at the gold surrounding him. "When did we abandon our compatriots?" Dwalin entered the hall, tears in his eyes. "Thorin, they are bleeding and dying. The caves are connected to the tunnels in this mountain. We can rely on the terrain to ensure our safety." Thorin suddenly stood up. Yes, that's right. We need to move the gold deeper to ensure its safety." "Didn't you hear me?" Dwalin bellowed angrily. "Dan's surrounded, and they're all going to be killed." Thorin was momentarily stunned and then said indifferently, "In war, people will always die. There are plenty of people, but compared to gold, human life is nothing, not worth mentioning. For gold, no matter how many people die, it is worth it." "Do you think so?" Aaron suddenly appeared in the hall, picking up the Arkenstone from the throne. "Maybe I shouldn't have given it to you in the first place." "Put it down." Thorin drew his long sword and pointed it at Aaron. "Put down the Arkenstone and leave. Get out before I kill you." Aaron shrugged and threw the gem into the pile of gold coins at his feet. Thorin immediately jumped down the steps to retrieve the Arkenstone, cradling it protectively in his arms. "Dwalin, what do you think of him now?" Aaron asked. "It's like he's a different person," Dwalin replied, shaking his head in pain. "He wears a crown and sits on a throne, but he is smaller than ever before." "I think so too," Aaron agreed, then took out his wand. "What are you going to do?" Thorin's face changed slightly, and he moved to stop Aaron. "Expelliarmus!" The red curse hit Thorin, knocking the long sword from his hand and sending him flying. "Calm down. I'm not here to steal your gold," Aaron said with a smile, pressing his wand against his temple. "I want to show you something." A wisp of silvery smoke emerged from Aaron's head. With a wave of his right hand, a scene unfolded in the magnificent hall, a memory from when he and Bilbo were searching for the Arkenstone. In the vision, Smaug sneered triumphantly, bluntly stating that he wanted Thorin to take the Arkenstone and watch him be consumed by it, leading to his downfall. Smaug even cited Thorin's grandfather as an example, describing how he became arrogant due to greed, ultimately leading to the ruin of his country and family. "Do you see it, Thorin? You are following in the footsteps of your grandfather." Soren couldn't believe it and shook his head in disbelief. "Impossible. It must be fake." "It's true," Dwalin insisted anxiously. "Look at what you've become now. In the past, Soren was indomitable. You were the forerunner of the dwarves, determined to take back Erebor and restore the glory of our people. But now, you've fallen into greed and madness, ignoring even the lives of our tribe. You are the king. You have always been our king, never doubted before, but now we have to." "Not really, not really," Thorin muttered to himself, repeating the words over and over again. Seeing him like this, Dwalin's mouth turned bitter, and tears even flashed in his eyes. Yet, he felt a sense of relief because he could see that Soren was beginning to doubt his obsession with gold. Aaron quietly gestured to Dwalin to go out and inform the others to prepare for battle. Meanwhile, he played with the wand in his hand, contemplating which spell to use. On second thought, he put away his wand. To deal with someone like Thorin, who had fallen into the madness of greed, the effect of an illusion would be much more effective than any spell. Snap! Aaron snapped his fingers, and the entire hall transformed into dazzling gold. His figure became transparent, replaced by a lifelike dragon, Hogwarts' ghost version. The gold coins under Soren's feet turned into a huge golden vortex. He fell into it, struggling desperately to climb out. By chance, he saw his grandfather, Thror, screaming in the deeper part of the vortex, a sight that brought tears to his eyes. At that moment, Smaug's undead appeared before him. It didn't say anything, just grinned with obvious sarcasm in its eyes, as if to say, I knew the descendants of Thrain would end up here. Just as he was about to be swallowed by the gold coins, Aaron released the illusion in time. Soren, what's the matter with you? Are you all right? Dwalin asked, concerned. It's okay. I just had a nightmare. It was very real. So real, I even saw my grandfather waving at me, Soren replied, still shaken. Aaron chuckled inwardly. Fortunately, the most important thing in Erebor was the statue of Thror, which provided him with enough material to create the illusion. It's fine. Then you can continue to guard the gold here. Dwalin and I are going to support the battlefield. They have never wavered in their loyalty to the king, but it is impossible for them to watch their compatriots die in battle, Aaron said. Wait, Thorin stopped Aaron nervously, then took off the crown on his head and threw it into the pile of gold coins. I'll go with you. Aaron pretended to be surprised. You figured it out? I don't want to be like my grandfather. Gold will never be as important as my clansmen, Soren declared. He pulled out his long sword, removed the metal ornaments from his body, and walked towards the city gate. At this time, the surviving Ironfoot army was powerless to resist and was forced under the city wall of Erebor. Azog seemed to have seen the end of the dwarves and immediately ordered the horn to be blown, preparing to launch the final general attack. The dwarves on the city wall felt very guilty. They didn't want to be cowards, and when they were extremely frustrated, Soren walked towards them slowly with his saber. Unable to bear it any longer, Keely cursed at Thorin. I will not hide forever behind a stone wall and watch others charge for our sake. I'm not that kind of person, Thorin. No, it's not. Soren looked at his nephew with relief. We are all descendants of Thrain, and the descendants of Thrain will not shrink back in battle. He walked up to everyone and said apologetically, I don't have the right to give orders to you again, but can you listen to me for the last time? The dwarves were silent, but they all stood up from the ground and clenched the weapons in their hands to show their resolve. Aaron rolled his eyes. He admitted that the scene was very moving, but if Thorin hadn't stopped him, the group of them would have rushed out already. Ahem. I have prepared something for the dwarven army. You charge first, and I will arrive later, Aaron announced. At this critical moment, the dwarven army found themselves cornered at the foot of the lonely mountain, unable to retreat. Dan ordered his troops to form a shield wall, preparing for a desperate stand. Observing this, Azog temporarily halted the half-orc army, waiting until several giant beasts reached the front lines before signaling the attack with a blast of their war horns. As the giant beasts advanced, the dwarves' morale plummeted. Their shield walls could withstand the orc charges, but the massive beasts could shatter their formation with a single swing of their mallets. The air was thick with tension, and the dwarves braced themselves for the onslaught. Suddenly, a hauntingly beautiful melody echoed across the battlefield. Aaron, standing atop Irubane, waved his wand like a conductor, transforming the poems that Thorin and his company had once hummed in the Shire into a powerful anthem. The half-orc army, poised for attack, hesitated, bewildered by the unexpected music. But for the dwarves, the melody stirred a profound sense of kinship and patriotism. Any lingering fear vanished, replaced by a fierce determination to defend their reclaimed homeland. The dwarves had endured countless hardships and sacrifices to retake Erebor. Now, they were ready to defend their kingdom to the death. Each dwarf gripped their weapon tightly, roaring with renewed vigor, eager to clash with the orcs. Meanwhile, Pangbo, who had just picked up a large horn on the city wall, looked at Aaron with a mix of admiration and exasperation. "You've already done this, and now I can't blow my charge horn," he said, shaking his head. Aaron grinned. "What are you looking at me for? It's art, the art of a pep talk. My music teacher taught me a few battle songs, but I was worried you wouldn't understand them, so I chose something more relatable. In my opinion, there's no tune that can stir the dwarves' emotions more than this." "But your charge is the real order," Aaron added. Hearing this, Pangbo nodded quickly, took a deep breath, and blew the horn with all his might. The sound resonated across the battlefield, signaling the dwarves to prepare for the imminent clash. Tools, ready to defend themselves if necessary. The spirit of resistance spread like wildfire, igniting a fierce determination in the hearts of the townspeople. Meanwhile, on the battlefield outside Erebor, Thorin and his 12 dwarves fought valiantly, their weapons clashing against the crude blades of the orcs. The dwarves' formation, sharp and unyielding, cut through the enemy ranks like a hot knife through butter. Despite being outnumbered, their courage and unity made them a formidable force. "For the king! For the king!" Dan's voice rang out, rallying the Ironfoot army. The dwarves, inspired by their king's presence, charged with renewed vigor, their battle cries echoing across the field. Bilbo, watching from the walls of River Valley City, couldn't help but feel a surge of hope. "Look at them, Gandalf. The dwarves are pushing back the orcs." Gandalf nodded, a rare smile gracing his lips. Thorin has finally risen above his greed. His presence on the battlefield has given his people the strength they needed. Suddenly, Aaron's missing body appeared beside them. "This advantage won't last long. There are too many orcs." "Where have you been?" Bilbo asked, his curiosity piqued. "I was helping Bard evacuate the old and weak to the church and set up an illusion to protect them," Aaron explained. "An illusion?" Gandalf's eyes widened in realization. "You mean the ice dragon is an illusion too?" Aaron shrugged nonchalantly. "Of course, I just needed it to boost morale." Gandalf almost choked on his own breath. He couldn't fault Aaron's logic, but the audacity of the plan left him speechless. "You could have warned me," he muttered. Aaron's missing body chuckled. "I almost forgot. The Phantom said the time to counterattack is now." Gandalf sighed, knowing there was no stopping Aaron. "Do what you must. Just be careful." Aaron gave a thumbs up and contacted his main body. He finished playing a rousing tune dedicated to the dwarves and prepared to join the fray. With a quick incantation, he conjured an illusion of Gandalf standing on the back of the ice dragon. The ice dragon, its body battered and bruised, let out a deafening roar and soared over the battlefield. The illusionary Gandalf called out, "The horn of counterattack has sounded. Take up arms and defend your homeland." The phantom Gandalf vanished, but the ice dragon remained, diving into the orc ranks with a thunderous crash. The impact sent orcs flying, their screams filling the air as the dragon's icy form shattered into countless shards. In Long Lake, Bard's people, inspired by Gandalf's words, looked to their leader for guidance. Bard, sensing the critical moment, raised his voice. "Those willing to fight to the end, follow me." The townspeople, armed with whatever they could find, surged forward, ready to reclaim their city. Even the old and weak in the church took up arms, prepared to defend their sanctuary. The battle raged on, but the tide was turning. The combined forces of the dwarves, the people of Long Lake, and the illusionary ice dragon created a powerful surge against the orc horde. The spirit of unity and determination burned brightly, a beacon of hope in the midst of chaos. As the sun began to set, casting a golden glow over the battlefield, it became clear that the orcs were faltering. Their numbers dwindled, and their morale shattered. The defenders of Erebor and Long Lake pressed their advantage, driving the invaders back. Thorin, his armor gleaming in the fading light, raised his sword high. "For the king! For our people!" The cry was taken up by every dwarf and townsman, their voices merging into a single, triumphant roar. The battle was far from over, but the spirit of resistance had been rekindled, and with it, the hope of victory. The townspeople, armed with whatever tools they could find, prepared to defend their families with their lives. Even young Tilda, who was not yet 10 years old, stood up to fight. Only Alfred was too timid to join the battle. He pretended to be an old woman to avoid the conflict. His disguise, was unconvincing, and the others quickly saw through it. They ignored him, giving him contemptuous looks as they walked out of the illusion's coverage. Gandalf, who was engaged in combat with the orcs, noticed the townspeople's efforts. There were even signs that they might drive the orcs out of River Valley City. He murmured in surprise, "Maybe we can really win." "That's right," Senianti joked. "You've staked your reputation on this, old man. We can't lose." Does she even realize what she's saying? On the battlefield outside the city, the arrival of the king bolstered the dwarves, allowing them to hold their ground against the much larger half-orc army. The 13 dwarves of the expedition team demonstrated their combat prowess, working together to bring down even the siege monsters in a short time. Bomber used his size to his advantage, toppling several half-orcs like a human battering ram. However, after such exertion, he needed his companion's help to stand up again. At that moment, another giant beast controlled by the half-orcs swung a meteor hammer, devastating the dwarf warriors. Seeing this, Aaron cast a splitting spell, killing the half-orc rider. He then leaped onto the beast's back, using it to deliver a crushing blow to the surrounding orcs. During the fight, Dan encountered his cousin and helped him fend off a few half-orc soldiers. "Brother, why did you come here?" he asked. Soren didn't explain, but instead embraced Dan in a big hug. "There are too many ugly monsters here, Soren. I hope you have a magic weapon to win." Soren glanced at Raven Ridge in the distance and formulated a plan. "Let's catch the thief first, and the king second." "Asog," Dan realized. "No, Soren. You are the king. If something happens to you, we will lose our fighting spirit." "There is no one more suitable than me, Dan," Soren replied with a confident smile, mounting a goat. "But are you going to kill him single-handedly? You won't even reach Raven Ridge. The orcs will intercept you." As soon as he spoke, Feely, Killy, and Dwalin joined them in a large chariot built by the dwarves, pulled by several sturdy goats. "It's been a while since I've driven this thing," Balin said, excited but nervous. It had been decades since he last did so. "Gaius!" Thorin shouted across the battlefield. Aaron, hearing the call, maneuvered the giant beast over. "What do you need?" "I'm going to kill Asog, and I need your help," Thorin said. Aaron thought for a moment. "This is indeed the fastest way to win the battle, but it's very dangerous. You'll have to fight from the foot of the mountain to the top." "So what?" Thorin asked. "I need a price, a reward, the white gem," Aaron said bluntly. "I promised Thranduil this." "No problem. The elves have made too many sacrifices for this battle. They deserve it." "Then the contract is fulfilled," Aaron chuckled, jumping onto the dwarf's chariot. "Let's go to Raven Ridge." "Everyone, hold on tight," Thorin commanded. "You crazy guys," Dan shook his head. "I like it." On the chariot, Killy sharpened his knife against the high-speed rotating hub, while Dwalin continuously fired crossbow bolts to clear the path for Thorin. The chariot became a harvester, scattering orc limbs and arms wherever it went. Asog noticed them and immediately ordered a wave of trolls to intercept. A giant beast charged at the chariot, wielding a massive mallet. "Leave it to me," Aaron said, preparing to unleash the roar of the fire dragon. Aaron took a deep breath and unleashed a fierce dragon flame. The flames completely engulfed the 6 charging trolls, leaving behind 6 charred remains. The chariot crushed them without any hindrance. "It's great," Chili shouted excitedly. "You can still breathe fire." "Keep it low-key," Aaron replied, waving his hand modestly. "I don't want too many people to know about this ability." At that moment, another armored giant beast suddenly attacked them. Balin quickly turned the chariot, narrowly avoiding the beast's knife and axe, but the chariot was forced onto a big, frozen river. In a hurry, Dwalin loaded the chariot with a box of crossbow arrows, but the ferocious giant continued its pursuit. It roared and jumped into the river, causing the ice behind the chariot to crack and burst. "Damn it," Aaron muttered, pulling out his wand decisively. "I'll smash it to pieces." A pale white light shot from his wand, hitting the giant beast. Its body instantly shattered, leaving only a few pieces of armor on the broken ice. "This is too exaggerated." Filey laughed. "I still think the flame breathing is more powerful," Kaylee said. "The magic power is limited. You should be satisfied with what we can do," Aaron replied. "Guys, look ahead. We have to find a way to get through," Balin reminded them. They looked forward and saw a giant beast carrying a wooden bridge, allowing more than a dozen orcs to cross the river. The ice in front had been damaged by the giant beast, turning a large section of the road into icy river water. "I'll handle it," Aaron volunteered. First, he killed the giant beast with a splitting spell, then used transfiguration to pave the way for the chariot. As for the orcs on the wooden bridge, Devlin shot them one by one with crossbow arrows. Just as they escaped from danger, a sudden attack by a wolf caught them off guard. Before they could react, 2 running goats were dragged away, becoming lunch for the wolf. At the same time, 2 warg cavalry approached the chariot from both sides to besiege them. Dwalin shot one dead, and Keely beheaded the orc in the rear, but during this time, another goat was taken away by a warg. With the number of goats reduced by half, their speed also decreased significantly, but a group of wolves was still in pursuit. "You go ahead, and I'll stay behind," Balin said. "You'll be faster if you ride a goat." "Can you hold them off alone?" Aaron asked with concern. "There are not only wargs here, but also warg cavalry." "Leave me the crossbow. I'm a warrior after all," Balin shrugged. "Although I'm a little older, they still can't kill me, and Thorin needs help. We won't reach Raven Ridge in time without giving up the chariot." "Understood." Aaron nodded and cast an iron armor curse on Dwalin. "At a critical moment, maybe this can save you once." Chapter 284, Knowing It's a Trap, still falling into it. Even though Dwalin and the others were reluctant, they knew Bahrain was right. They had no choice. Feely and Killy each mounted a goat, cut the ropes attached to the chariot, and rode swiftly towards Raven Hill. "Gaius, come up," Dwalin said, making room for Aaron on the last goat. "Forget it," Aaron replied, glancing at him with some disdain. "I don't like being with rough guys." "This is no time for jokes," Dwalin retorted. "This is not a joke," Aaron shook his head. Without further explanation, he tapped his shoulder with his wand, transforming into a raven and soaring into the sky. Dwalin was left speechless. "Why bother?" he muttered to himself. In this manner, they successfully arrived at the foot of Raven Ridge and joined Thorin. "Charge forward," Thorin commanded, and everyone began to climb the mountain. The half-orc guards were no match for the 4 elite dwarves, who fought their way to the top. However, they were uneasy to find the watchtower empty. Azog was missing, or perhaps hiding. "Where is he?" Keely asked. "It seems deserted." "Azog may have fled," Feely suggested. "I don't think so," Thorin murmured. As an old adversary, he knew Azog too well, insidious, cunning, vicious, and powerful. Azog would never engage in a fair fight if he could avoid it. "Fully, take your brother and search the lookout. Be cautious, report immediately if you find anything, and don't act on your own. Understand?" Thorin instructed. "Wait," Aaron interjected, stopping the two. "The enemy is hidden while we are exposed. It's better not to split up, otherwise we risk being picked off one by one." "Another enemy is approaching," Dwalin reported. "It's goblin mercenaries, about 100 of them." As soon as he spoke, the goblins attacked with shrill cries. "Deal with them first," Thorin ordered, raising his saber. Feely, Keely, and Dwalin joined the fray without hesitation. If it had been hundreds of orcs, they might have struggled, but goblins were a different story. It would be embarrassing if they couldn't handle them. In River Valley City, Legolas arrived hurriedly with Tauriel on a white horse. "Gandalf, another wave of enemies is coming," Legolas said anxiously. "The Gundabad orcs led by Bolg are approaching." "Gundabad?" Gandalf mused. "It seems this is all part of a plan. Azog is keeping our main forces occupied, while Bolg launches a surprise attack from the north." "Is this the final straw to break the camel's back?" Aaron pondered. "Given the current battle situation, this orc army is more like a heavy weight. We've barely gained the upper hand. Once Bolg arrives, the balance will tip in favor of the orcs again. Life is unpredictable, just like the battlefield. No wonder my ancestors said the battle situation changes rapidly. I didn't believe it before, but now I have to." "The situation isn't that dire yet," Gandalf reassured. "The orcs have reinforcements, but so do we." "Huh." Aaron raised his eyebrows, remembering Gandalf's earlier words. After being rescued from Dol Guldur by Queen Galadriel, Gandalf had asked the brown-robed wizard Radagast to summon reinforcements. With the orc reinforcements imminent, their own should be arriving soon as well. "Gandalf, you truly have foresight. My respect for you has grown," Aaron admitted. Gandalf's mouth twitched slightly, but he merely smiled and said nothing. North? Where is North? Asked Bilbo. Tell me. Raven Ridge, the missing body replied, glancing at the sun obscured by clouds. If nothing goes wrong, that's where Azog will be. Bilbo's face turned pale. Thorin is there, and so are Fili, Kili, and Dwalin. Hearing that Kili was at Raven Ridge, Toriel's eyes widened and her heart raced. It's not just them, the missing body added, scratching its head. My main body is also there. Upon hearing this, both Bilbo and Gandalf visibly relaxed, their worry easing. Hey, what do you mean by that? The missing body felt a pang of hurt, its fragile heart stung. This is the only piece of goo, D-News, Gandalf said bluntly. If you're there, Thorin and the others won't be in danger. With a bit of luck, they might even get out safely. The missing body was speechless. Who are these people, thinking so highly of me? Are you a clone? Legolas asked, surprised. How did you do it? You look just like the main body. Talent, Sinianti said proudly, lifting his chin. It's all about my unique talent. He secretly thought you wouldn't be able to tell the difference even if you tried. The missing body was created by splitting half of the magic power from the main body. It has flesh, blood, and feelings. Not even a wizard like Dumbledore, who could become a holy magister at any time, could tell the difference. Can he really guarantee the safety of Kili and the others? Toriel asked, still doubtful. Absolutely, Gandalf replied confidently. I've never seen anyone with a greater desire to survive than him. If he dared to go, it means he has enough confidence to return safely. The missing body smiled awkwardly, not refuting Gandalf's words. The main body still had at least 100 points of mana. Apparition, Animagus, any of these would be enough to escape. In a worst-case scenario, he could use the water-repelling spell to jump into the glacier. He didn't believe that half-orcs could survive the freezing waters to rescue anyone. But their situation is still very dangerous, Toriel insisted. We have to find a way to inform them. No need, the missing body said, pointing to its head. Although I am a clone, I'm not a third-rate one. I can communicate with the main body at any time. The news that Azog will attack from the north has already been passed on. Thorin and the others will know. Well done, Gandalf said appreciatively. Should we go over and support them? Bilbo asked, concerned. I'm not trying to be a downer, but it's Thorin we're talking about. Gandalf took a deep breath, feeling a sudden toothache. He had forgotten about this. Bilbo's concern was valid. Thorin's grandfather and father had both died at Azog's hands. When enemies meet, they are often consumed by jealousy and rage. Even if Thorin knew Raven Ridge was a trap, he might lose his mind upon seeing Azog and fight him desperately. Aaron, can you persuade him? Gandalf asked. What do you think? The missing body replied, rolling its eyes. You know how stubborn Thorin is. I'll do my best, but if he doesn't listen, I'll just knock him out and carry him back. The group exchanged glances, speechless. This approach was unkind, but there seemed to be no better option. Raven Ridge. After finishing off a group of goblin mercenaries, Aaron received the news from the missing body and frowned. Thorin, my avatar has informed me that Azog is leading a group of Gundabad orcs here. We must leave immediately. We almost got him, Dwalin said angrily. That filthy orc is here. We should press on. No, that's exactly the trap, Thorin said calmly. This is Azog's plan. Aaron was a little surprised, but more delighted. Thorin Oakenshield had changed his strategy, so he didn't have to waste his words. Thorin looked at the top of the watchtower with some regret and gave the order to retreat helplessly. But as soon as they mounted their goats, Azog, who had been hiding in the shadows, couldn't hold back any longer. Thorin wanted to kill him, and Azog felt the same way about Thorin. In the past, Thorin Oakenshield was just a down-and-out dwarf prince, but he had managed to escape from the orcs' hunts many times. Now, with the Arkenstone in his possession, he was a legitimate dwarf king. Even if the goblins won the war and took the Lonely Mountain, as long as Thorin lived, he would unite the dwarf tribes, making it impossible to kill him then. Thorin Oakenshield, Azog called out, stepping out of the watchtower. Is the majestic dwarf king going to escape in despair? You don't understand, Aaron said carelessly. This is about preserving our strength for future battles. Don't think we don't know that Bolg is bringing the Jew, Undabad orcs. Once this place is surrounded, we won't be able to escape. That's right, Azog. Thorin said with a contemptuous smile. Today, you were lucky and saved your life, but next time you won't be so fortunate. With that, Thorin prepared to lead his people away. Thrain, Azog said, mocking Thorin's father's name. The sight of that dwarf being killed by me is still fresh in my memory, the fear in his eyes unforgettable. And your grandfather, what was his name? Thror, your king, was beheaded by my own hands and thrown on the ground like rubbish. 2 generations of dwarf kings have died at my hands, and now the 3rd generation wants to run away like a coward. Understandable for the descendants of Thrain. Aaron groaned inwardly. Azog's words were brutally honest, laying bare the family hatred and repeatedly trampling on their pride. It was unbearable for anyone. Thorin, calm down. You must stay calm, Aaron urged. I can't calm down, Thorin said, unconsciously clenching the reins. In the next second, he dismounted. Today, I will kill him. We can't stay calm either, Dwalin said angrily. The dwarf king was insulted. We can't pretend we didn't hear anything. Fili and Kili nodded in agreement and stood beside Thorin. Aaron sighed inwardly. Damn it, what are you 3 doing? Chapter 285, Good words are hard to persuade. Damn it, play a big one. Soren, I truly understand you, Aaron said earnestly, trying to persuade him. But you are a king. Think about your people. You must not put yourself in danger at this time. Soren turned his head, his expression stoic but his eyes filled with determination. Because I am the king, I cannot remain indifferent. Azog's insult was not just to me, but to the Turin family and the entire dwarf tribe. The overall situation is the most important thing, Aaron said, his face darkening. Anyone with a discerning eye can see this as a trap. You know, we are foolishly walking into it. Once the Borg's orc army arrives, then we kill that demon king before they come, Thorin said firmly. Leave the other half orcs to us, Dwalin said, patting his chest. Fili and Kili also drew their weapons, ready for battle. Aaron took a few deep breaths, trying to suppress the anger rising within him. The courage of the dwarves is truly eye-opening, but have you considered what would happen if you fail? The king beheaded by orcs, the dwarves demoralized, and then all killed. Thorin, Moria is a lesson from the past. Don't tell me you will repeat the same mistakes. Thorin paused, glancing at Azog's sneering face, then sighed. Sometimes, sacrifice is more meaningful. Dan and his Ironfoot army will do everything to avenge the king. Gaius, I ask you one thing as a friend. If I die, you must take Fili and Kili away. Fili will be the next king of the dwarves. Uncle, I... Shut up, Soren commanded, staring seriously at his 2 nephews. This is the king's order. I can die here, but you must go back alive. It's heart-touching, Aaron muttered, silently drawing his wand. Stupefy. Just as the spell was about to hit Thorin, Dwalin pulled him away and glared at Aaron. What are you doing? Aaron felt a surge of frustration. Are you a traitor? Can't you see I'm trying to save him? Actually, it was a misunderstanding. I just wanted to knock him out and take him away safely, Aaron explained. Gaius, thank you for your kindness, but if you still consider me a friend, don't stop me, Soren said with a smile. This is for the glory of the Turin family. Even if it means death, I will protect it to the end. Aaron sighed deeply. Tired, destroy it. At the same time, in River Valley City, the missing body, fighting side by side with Gandalf and others, suddenly received the memory of the main body. Mommy, fake! The missing body felt the anger and helplessness of the main body. Its eyes glowed with fire, and it exuded a cold aura that warned strangers to stay away. Just then, a giant beast appeared in front of it. The missing body saw the ready-made sandbag and raised its fists, beginning to vent its anger. Boom, boom, boom. Sinion's punches were swift and powerful. The behemoth foamed at the mouth, retreating all the way from the entrance of the alley to the end. When it reached the end and was about to lose consciousness, a flame ignited on the right fist of the missing body. Fire dragons! Iron Fist! Boom! The giant figure let out a final scream, rose into the sky in a ball of flames, and then fell heavily. Gandalf, who is this guy? Legolas asked in astonishment. Are you sure he's a mage? Are you sure he is a clone? Teriel was also shocked. I didn't know he could fight a giant beast hand-to-hand. Gandalf looked embarrassed. In fact, this is no longer a hand-to-hand fight. It is a blatant massacre. Several of our wizards are not weaker than top fighters, but they have not escaped the category of human beings. Aaron is completely different. Both his magic power and combat prowess are exaggerated and outrageous. It is simply not like the world. Gandalf suddenly realized something, his complexion changing subtly as an almost impossible truth emerged in his mind. Are you okay? Bilbo approached with concern etched on his face. What's going on? Is something wrong? Yes, something big, the missing body replied angrily. Thorin intends to stay in Raven Mountain and fight Azog to the death. What? Gandalf was so shocked that he nearly staggered and fell. Is he crazy? Didn't you tell him about the goblin army in Gundabad? Of course I did, the missing body said, rolling his eyes. I made it very clear and even explained the consequences of failure, but it was useless. Azog brought up his grandfather and father, tarnishing the honor of the Durin royal family and the dignity of the dwarves. Do you think Thorin can bear that? Didn't you try to stun him? Bilbo asked anxiously. Ha! The missing body covered its face with a wry smile. Dwalin, that unlucky fellow, pulled Thorin away at the critical moment, avoiding my sleeping spell. Now I can't cast it again. What about the others? Toriel asked. What do they think? They're staying to defend the dignity of the dwarves alongside their king, the missing body said, filled with grief and indignation. A sad smile crossed its face. In my 14 years of gaming, I've never lost, except for a meal, but today I lost to the dwarves' stubbornness. I was completely defeated. Gandalf looked at Aaron with a heavy heart. I know you're not feeling great right now, but the overall situation is the most important thing. Don't talk to me about the big picture, the missing body interrupted. I've had enough. You should talk to those damn dwarves about the big picture. But we can't leave him on Raven Hill, can we? Bilbo said. Bolg's army of orcs will be here soon. So Thorin has arranged his funeral, and the next dwarf king will be Fili, the missing body said helplessly. With such determination to see death as home, what can I do? Hearing this, Bilbo was silent for a moment before saying, I still think we should support him. We may not be able to help much, but at least we can buy Thorin more time. I'll go too, Toriel immediately stated. Killy was also at Raven Ridge, and she was really worried. It's too late, Legolas said. There will be many obstacles along the way, and by the time we get there, it will be over. Normally, yes, but we have an exceptional wizard, Gandalf said, giving the missing body a meaningful look. The missing body chuckled, turned its face away, and didn't want to talk to him. A few dwarves were enough for him. Any more, and he would be exhausted. Although Thorin's attitude made him quite angry, he felt a sense of being a ghost who couldn't be persuaded by good words. But at least they were friends, and when it really came to a last resort, the ontology could lead them out of the tight encirclement. Do you really have a way to take us there? Toriel asked eagerly, looking at the missing body. No. You must have, Legolas said firmly. Since you decided to stay and fight, it means you don't want to lose this war. Send us there now and help Thorin Oakenshield kill Azog. Half the battle will be won. Hearing this, the missing body fell silent. He had to admit he was moved. The current battle situation was still confusing, and it would become more complicated when reinforcements from both sides arrived. In this situation, Raven Ridge was the key to the battle. For the huge sum of magic points to be credited smoothly, Azog had to die, and Bolg and his Gundabad orcs couldn't live either. Okay, I'll take you there. Great, Bilbo said, walking up to Aaron. Come on, I'm ready. Wait a moment. A gleam flashed in the eyes of the missing body. Since we're going, let's make it big. What do you mean? Bilbo asked. The missing body didn't answer, but jumped to the top of the tower and watched the large and small flames in the River Valley city, waving its magic wand. The next moment, all the flames. In River Valley City, crimson streams of light converged towards the tower and were all absorbed by the missing body. Several people watched this scene, dumbfounded and shocked, unable to find words to describe it. Hiccup. The missing body hiccuped and commented nonchalantly, It tastes good, but it's a bit boo-errant. You ate the flames? Bilbo asked incoherently. Calm down. I am a wizard. This is just a general operation to restore physical strength, the missing body replied. Hearing this, the three of them turned their eyes to Gandalf in unison, as if asking, Is what he said true? Gandalf hesitated before responding. Nonsense. No one can devour flames except the Balrog. You can see it now, the missing body retorted. Who exactly are you? Gandalf demanded. I remember telling you the answer to this question, the missing body said lightly. Do I need to repeat it again? The corner of Gandalf's eye twitched, recalling Aaron's self-introduction earlier. There was a sentence in his heart that he didn't know whether to say or not. It's important. Take us there quickly, Gandalf urged. Okay. The missing body took out a magic carpet. Bilbo couldn't help frowning and asked worriedly, There are so many of us. Can the magic carpet move? What are you thinking? This is for you, the missing body said solemnly, placing the magic carpet in Bilbo's hands. In case I run out of strength, you have to be responsible for leading me away. Bilbo nodded, though he was puzzled. The missing body then had several people grab his arms, and they apparated to Raven Ridge. It's amazing. We've arrived at Raven Ridge now? Toriel exclaimed, shocked by this teleportation method that simply refreshed her worldview. Legolas was also in awe. The elves knew some magic, but they had never seen anything like this. Where are Thorin and the others? Gandalf asked. The missing body pointed to the icy lake behind them. Thorin was fighting fiercely with Azog on the surface of the lake. Fueled by anger, he fought Azog to a standstill and even had a slight upper hand. The others were helping him by blocking the rest of the orcs, and their division of labor was quite clear. Chapter 286, The Mystery of Dragonslayer, The Destruction of Gondaba Orcs. Gandalf brought Legolas and Toriel into the battle to help the dwarves, while Aaron's main body escorted Bilbo. Aaron's main body and clone were connected in mind and body, cooperating seamlessly to eliminate more than a dozen orcs in a short time. We must hurry to help Thorin, said Bilbo. Not now. I need to recover my magic power, Aaron replied. This is also the purpose of my coming here. His clone smiled meaningfully before turning into particles and merging with the main body. Feeling the surge of magic power, Aaron felt relieved and a long-lost sense of security. May I go and help Thorin now? Bilbo asked anxiously, holding the stinger in his hand. Others can, but you have to stay here. I will count on you in a while. What are you talking about? Asked Bilbo, puzzled. Is there anything more important than helping Thorin? There really is, Aaron said, motioning Bilbo to look at the sky. A huge cloud was approaching Raven Ridge, filled with densely packed giant bats. Grunt! Bilbo felt a pang of guilt and silently put his hand into his pocket, ready to put on the one ring at any moment. Have the Gondaba orcs come? Thorin won't die for a while. We have to find a way to stop this army of orcs. Otherwise, not only the elves and dwarves below, but even we won't be able to protect ourselves. This is not an exaggeration. Even with 8 apparitions, we may not be able to escape. What are you going to do? Asked Bilbo in a deep voice. Just as Aaron was about to explain, a group of giant bats flew over Raven Ridge and joined the battlefield below, attacking the dwarven Ironfoot army and turning the tide in favor of the orcs. I hope Radagast can be reliable and bring our reinforcements quickly. If he delays any longer, the battle might be over by evening. Come on, kill them. Bolg suddenly appeared within their line of sight, commanding his Gondaba orc vanguard to attack everyone. Call Godguard! Without hesitation, Aaron used the Patronus charm to build a giant protective barrier, blocking Bolg's army on the other side of Raven Ridge. When Azog saw this, several black lines appeared on his pale face. Initially, only Oakenshield, Fili, Kili, Dwalin, and an ordinary wizard were on Raven Ridge. He felt it was safe and only a matter of time before his forces took them down. As their numbers doubled, he still felt confident, even excited. The Elven Prince and the damned gray-robed wizard were all there. As long as their heads were taken, the orcs could claim victory. Although the defenders might be insufficient, the arrival of reinforcements from Gondaba would not be a problem. But what did he see now? A wizard had blocked his reinforcements, which was not part of his plan. Thorin seized the moment when Azog lost focus and chopped off his shoulder armor with a sword. It seems you made a mistake. Unplanned variables. But it doesn't matter. How long do you think he can maintain this magic? Azog sneered. Maybe this is not a bad thing. The Gondaba army will gather soon and crush you easily. Good idea, Aaron said, leading Bilbo to the top of the watchtower. He then gave Azog a harmless smile. I should have killed you first, Azog roared angrily. Aaron curled his lips disapprovingly. You say that as if you could kill me. Gaius, can you hold on? Thorin asked. It doesn't matter. I have a plan and intend to play big, Aaron replied, glancing at the other side of Raven Ridge. But I didn't expect the audience to be so enthusiastic. Is it really appropriate to say this now? Bilbo asked anxiously, as a large number of ferocious orcs attacked the barrier. Less than 10 meters away from them, Aaron spoke with urgency. I will cast the most powerful magic I can muster to severely damage this orc army. But after one blow, my magic power will be completely drained, and I won't even be able to use the most basic spells. When that happens, I'll depend on you for my safety. Everyone else is so unreliable. Hearing this, Bilbo turned his head to look at the orc legions that were gathering in greater numbers. He suddenly understood the gravity of the situation. The magic carpet on his back felt incredibly heavy. I know. Before I die, I will definitely protect you. Thanks, Aaron replied, breathing a sigh of relief. With a wave of his hand, he withdrew the protective barrier, and an army of half-orcs rushed forward like a tidal wave. Seeing this, Aaron leaned forward slightly and jumped off the watchtower with a running start. While falling, he mobilized all the magic power in his body. Blazing flames emerged from his hands as he assumed a spiral posture. Dragon Slayer Profound Truth, Crimson Blast Inflammation Ninja. Boom. The flames in Aaron's hands expanded exponentially, transforming into a massive sea of fire with immense impact and destructive force. In the blink of an eye, half of Raven Ridge was engulfed, and countless half-orcs were incinerated before they could even scream. The high temperature burned their bones, leaving no remains. The massive explosion triggered a chain reaction, shattering the icy lake beside Raven Ridge and causing a large-scale mountain collapse. The half-orcs who survived the flames were buried under countless rocks and debris from the icy lake. The number of Gundaba half-orc troops plummeted by 70%, with fewer than 50 survivors. Even those who survived were half dead, struggling to stand. Aaron half-kneeled on a boulder, his chest heaving as he panted heavily. As expected, the Dragon Slayer Profound Truth had drained his magic power, but the effect was astonishing. The Gundaba half-orc army was effectively destroyed, and the war would end as soon as Radagast's reinforcements arrived. Just then, Aaron heard heavy footsteps. He turned his head and felt a surge of fear. Borg was charging at him with a black hammer. Are you kidding me? He's still alive? Aaron thought in disbelief. Borg, who had the cunning to lead an army, sensed a great danger when Aaron shouted Dragon Slayer Profound Truth. The warning of death rang in his mind, and he instinctively lay on the ground, using several half-orcs as meat shields to survive the sea of fire. Despite suffering burns, he avoided broken bones and escaped the subsequent torrent. Don't come any closer. It's really just a misunderstanding, Aaron said anxiously, cursing Bilbo for not coming to his rescue. He didn't have the energy to fight Borg one-on-one now. Go to hell, Borg roared, his murderous intent almost palpable. The Gundaba army was crucial for the orcs' victory in this war, their last bargaining chip. Now, it was all gone. Without the giant bats, their chances were slim. Borg couldn't believe Aaron's words, even if he wanted to. Aaron was too much of a threat. He could use such powerful magic before even reaching adulthood. Only the master of the half-orcs could defeat him. Now, in his weakest moment, Borg had to kill him, or there would be no future for the half-orcs. Just as Borg raised his hammer and Aaron prepared to squeeze out the last trace of magic power, a stone struck the back of Borg's head with precision. Dazed, Borg staggered. At this critical moment, Bilbo seized the opportunity to control the magic carpet, grabbed Aaron's arm, and lifted him into the air. After saving his life, Aaron looked at Bilbo resentfully. "Why did you come here?" he asked. "Fast enough," Bilbo replied, but a look of embarrassment flashed across his face when he met Aaron's suspicious eyes. "Well, I was struck by your magic. It's too exaggerated, destroying an army with one move. Even though I saw it with my own eyes, I couldn't believe it." "Heh! So you forgot about me?" Aaron said, exasperated. "You should have come to save me as soon as possible." I was shocked for a few seconds," Bilbo admitted, frustrated. "When Borg crawled out of the pile of corpses, I came to save you immediately." Hearing this, Aaron rolled his eyes angrily. "If you could have saved those few seconds of shock, I wouldn't have had to worry about being under Borg's knife. I haven't been this excited before. Let's go back." "Huh?" Bilbo was taken aback. Your current state is not suitable for appearing on the battlefield. Don't worry, Gandalf and the others are all here. The half-orcs scattered on Raven Ridge pose no threat to me at all. Bilbo thought for a moment, and then controlled the magic carpet to return to Raven Ridge. When Borg saw them coming back, he yelled angrily, wishing he could sprout wings and kill them in the sky. Incapable and furious, Aaron taunted him, then retreated tactically. I did it on purpose just now. All half-orcs should be damned. There is no misunderstanding. Even though Borg was trembling with anger, he knew he couldn't do anything to them, so he simply pretended not to see them and quickly ran to the top of Raven Ridge. Now that his army was gone, the only way to win this war as quickly as possible was to help Azog take the heads of Thorin and the others. Near the icy lake of Raven Ridge, Gandalf and the others had almost cleared away the orc guards. The situation had naturally undergone a huge change. Originally, half-orcs besieged several dwarves, but now dwarves, elves, and wizards were besieging Azog. Facing the siege of 7 people, even the pale half-orc Azog couldn't help feeling guilty. Just at this moment, Borg rushed over, giving him a glimmer of hope. Borg, if you're back, that means the wizard is dead, right? Quickly mobilize our army and kill them all, Azog commanded. Chapter 287, Chivalry is a Lie. Borg hesitated, worried that Azog would not be able to accept the reality. I'm sorry to disappoint you, but I'm still alive, Aaron's proud voice came from above, catching Azog off guard. Borg, where's our army? Azog demanded. If there were no accidents, the whole army has been wiped out, Aaron replied lightly, with a trace of regret in his tone. But there was a small accident. A few dozen soldiers survived, though they are barely clinging to life. After winning this battle, I believe the dwarves will be happy to finish them off. Azog was stunned. He turned to look at Borg. And when he saw that Borg remained silent, he immediately understood that this was not a lie. His army might really be gone. Why are you still alive? Azog grabbed Borg's neck angrily. Why didn't you die with them? Because of my quick reaction, Borg explained with a guilty conscience. You don't even know what happened just now. That damn wizard released flames more terrifying than dragonfire, burning our army to ashes. The flames also melted the ice on Raven Ridge, and the soldiers who survived were swallowed by the lake. Hearing this, Azog suppressed the anger in his heart. He wanted to ask why Borg hadn't killed the wizard for revenge, but the magic carpet above his head made him speechless. Borg was undoubtedly one of the top fighters among the orcs, but no matter how strong he was, he couldn't fly and couldn't do anything to enemies in the air. I won't kill you, not because you are my son, but because there is no one else to use now. Azog pushed Borg away coldly. There is only one way to redeem yourself. You understand what it is? Borg nodded, then took up his weapon and looked at Legolas, the elf prince. The grievances in Long Lake Town, now is the time to end them. I'll stay with you to the end, Legolas squinted. On the night of chasing orcs in Long Lake Town, he had been accidentally punched by Borg, causing a nosebleed. The son of the Elf King was wounded in battle with the son of the Half-Orc King. This was a great shame, and it could only be washed away with the life of the other party. Tauriel tried to help, but Legolas refused. Borg was not weak, but Legolas was confident he could kill him without assistance. Thorin Oakenshield, Azog looked at Thorin and said provocatively, Are you going to fight alone or together? I almost forgot. You Turin royal family always bully the few with more. I'll do it, Fili volunteered. Uncle, let me go. Dwarves can't be underestimated. I'm coming, Fili. Don't fight me, Kili interjected. No, you are not his opponent, Thorin shook his head. Let me do it. Aaron rolled his eyes in exasperation. Bilbo, you're good at throwing stones. If you get the chance, hit Azog on the head. Don't be merciful. Everyone raised their heads to look at the blanket in midair, incredulous that such words came from a teenage child. Oakenshield, is this the size of your dwarf royal family? Azog roared angrily. He used to think that sneak attacks and backstabbing were the patents of their half-orcs, but today he found out he was wrong. If you don't want to fight one-on-one, just say it. I'm not afraid of you all coming at me together. Why bother with these dirty tricks? Thorin's face darkened. Bilbo, don't meddle. This is a matter for the Turin family, and it should be resolved by ourselves. Bilbo, I don't think I agreed. Idiot, Aaron complained secretly. Give him a chance, he's useless. That's what I said, but the sneak attack is somewhat unkind, Bilbo pursed his lips. The heroes in the book abide by the spirit of chivalry, let alone King Thorin. Pull it down. Chivalry is a lie. If you can win, you won't die. You can play chivalry. If you can't win, you will definitely die. You can also play chivalry. But what? Thorin faced off against Azog, even when he had the upper hand. I don't believe he lost his mind. Look at Legolas. He fought Bolg one-on-one and was confident of his victory. Saying anything more would be disrespectful to him. Legolas, how strange this sounds. Shut up, Azog roared at Aaron angrily, then charged at Thorin with desperation. He couldn't let Aaron continue talking, fearing Thorin might switch from a single combat to a group fight. But in the sky, no one could stop it, so he had to start with Thorin. As long as there was a fight, Thorin wouldn't think too much. Azog swung his stone hammer, attached to chains, towards Thorin. Thorin knew he couldn't match Azog's full strength, so he dodged hastily. The stone hammer was powerful, but its inertia was significant. After evading 2 attacks, Thorin slashed at Azog's left hand with his sword, but it was blocked by the sharp blade on Azog's left arm. Azog grinned and continued to swing the sledgehammer wildly at Thorin. Facing such a powerful attack, Thorin could only dodge. The stone hammer kept hitting the lake, causing the ice to crack gradually. Seeing this, Thorin decided to use the ice to his advantage. He moved around Azog, guiding his attacks. Soon, the ice beneath their feet broke away from the surface, floating on the water like a small boat, constantly shaking. Thorin slipped and fell on the ice. As soon as he stood firm, the stone hammer slashed across the ice, hitting his legs. Thorin fell again, rolling to avoid Azog's attack. After several attempts, Thorin quickly stood up and slashed at Azog's abdomen with his sword. However, Azog's armor was extremely hard, and the sword did little damage, only enraging him further. Azog turned around angrily and threw the stone hammer, but this time he used too much force. The hammer got stuck in the ice and couldn't be pulled out. Azog looked at Thorin and suddenly stabbed with the sharp blade on his left hand, but Thorin bent down to dodge it. Just as he was about to attack again, a group of giant eagles flew behind Thorin. The brown-robed wizard Radagast had joined the battlefield with reinforcements. The giant bats were like chicks before the giant eagles, torn apart in just one round of attacks. Additionally, Bjorn, the skin changer, transformed into a giant bear, venting his hatred for orcs like a meat grinder. The half-orcs, who had just gained a slight upper hand, instantly felt despair as the balance of victory tilted completely towards the dwarves, elves, and humans. We've won, definitely won this time, Bilbo shouted excitedly. Aaron controlled the magic carpet and landed in front of Gandalf, smiling with satisfaction. This wave of reinforcements is definitely a game-changer. The orcs' giant beast army has been completely decimated. They have no strength to fight back, and will undoubtedly die. Gandalf, with his usual calm demeanor, gave Aaron a knowing look. It's not too late. It's timely, but it would have been nice if it could have been earlier. Gandalf. Azog watched the giant eagles fly away, realizing the orcs were defeated, but he was unwilling to accept such a terrible price, just for severely injuring the dwarf and elf armies. He wanted to at least take the heads of the dwarf king and elf prince to make up for his losses. As he came back to his senses and prepared to deal with Thorin, he saw Thorin quickly pick up the stone hammer from the ice and throw it at him. Azog caught the stone hammer, full of doubts. What was happening? Had Oakenshield given up and returned his weapon? At that moment, Thorin suddenly took a step back and jumped onto solid ice. As he left, the ice floe under Azog's feet lost its balance and tilted downwards. Thorin's stone hammer slipped from his grasp, and he fell into the icy lake water. Thorin won! Dwalin laughed and cheered, with Fili and Kili joining in excitement. Don't celebrate too soon, Aaron said, his face serious. Azog is no ordinary orc. He fell into the frozen lake without a scratch. With your physique, you might struggle for a few minutes in that water, but the mighty orc king won't even make a ripple. It's unbelievable. Their faces fell as they looked at Thorin, who was sitting on the ice, catching his breath. An ominous feeling just settled over them. Get out of there, Thorin, Gandalf shouted. Thorin hesitated for a moment, but as he stood up, a sharp knife pierced the sole of his foot. Azog broke through the ice, knocking Thorin down and stabbing at him with the sharp blade on his left arm. Thorin instinctively raised his weapon to block the blow, but Azog's strength was overwhelming. The blade inched closer to Thorin's chest. "Thorin! Uncle!" Fili and Kili rushed forward. In that moment, the concept of a fair fight was forgotten. The king's life was in danger. Before they could reach him, a dagger glowing with blue light flew through the air, piercing Azog's temple. Azog let out a shrill scream, the pain preventing him from delivering the fatal blow to Thorin. He pulled the dagger from his temple and staggered back, falling heavily to the ground. His blue eyes remained wide open, filled with a strong sense of unwillingness. If he had died at the hands of Thorin Oakenshield, he might have accepted it. After all, Thorin was the king of the dwarves, and his death would have been honorable. But to be killed by an unknown short sword just as he was about to take his revenge was the ultimate humiliation. "Bilbo," Gaius said, looking at his empty right hand, "I don't want to say this, but well done." "Thank you," Bilbo replied, shaking his head in disbelief. "The story of your great-great-great-uncle killing the Orc King is just a legend, but today's story is real. The hobbit Bilbo Baggins indirectly helped the Dwarf King kill Azog, and Sting will be famous in history. It's enough for you to brag about for a lifetime." Chapter 288, Azog's Demise and the End of the War. "I've said it before, there's no need to reason with half-orcs," Aaron remarked as he approached Thorin, his tone laden with meaning. "I think you understand now." Thorin nodded reluctantly, leaning on Fili and Kili for support as he lifted his right foot, which had been pierced by a sharp blade. "This is a lesson. You saved me again." "I've saved you countless times along the way. This time is no different," Aaron replied. "Where is Legolas?" "How is he?" Thorin inquired. "Don't worry about him," Aaron said, pointing to a stone tower not far away that was collapsing. "In terms of fighting, I've never seen anyone as elegant." Legolas, with the unique agility of elves, was stepping lightly on the falling stones, making his way to Borg. With a spinning scissor kick, he knocked Borg down. Both nearly fell off the cliff, but managed to grab the stone wall and pull themselves up, resuming their fight. Legolas stabbed at Borg, but Borg caught his right hand. Smiling provocatively, Borg met Legolas's gaze. Legolas responded with a smile, using a nearby stone to step on Borg's shoulder. The short knife in his hand flipped, and he aimed at Borg's head, stabbing hard. Puff! Borg's eyes rolled back as he lost consciousness completely. As he fell, the stone tower collapsed under the weight. Legolas backflipped to the shore while Borg was buried under the rubble at the bottom of the cliff. "It's over," Gandalf sighed in relief. With Azog and Borg gone, the half-orc army would be leaderless and easily defeated. Without Erebor, the Angmar kingdom's resurgence would be even more difficult. Sauron, without resources, would be unable to pose a threat, ensuring peace in Middle-earth for a long time. "It's not over yet," Aaron said meaningfully. "I think we should make use of Azog's body, perhaps throw it to Dan." The group was taken aback. "Isn't that inappropriate?" Bilbo asked with a smile. "Even if he committed countless crimes, he's already dead. Look at him, he's clearly dead." "Bilbo, you're too soft-hearted," Aaron shrugged. "The education I received taught me that enemies are not worthy of sympathy or pity. You can do anything to them." "What kind of education did you receive?" Bilbo asked, curious about the family that raised such elites. That's not important." "Thorin, do you want to use Azog's body?" Aaron asked. Thorin was silent for a moment before nodding hesitantly. Although he had avenged his grandfather and father, Azog's death felt too easy, especially after his recent sneak attack. Using his corpse to relieve the dwarves' pressure could be seen as atonement. "Excellent." Aaron snapped his fingers and waved his wand at Azog's corpse. Wingardium Leviosa. As the spell was cast, Azog's body floated down Raven Ridge. Instead of landing in front of Dan, it stopped over the battlefield and was disemboweled by a giant eagle. Seeing Azog's body, the orcs completely lost their fighting spirit. With the arrival of the giant eagle, they had no hope for the war and even considered retreating, but Azog had ordered them to fight to the death. Now, with their supreme commander gone, they fled without any psychological burden. Dan seized the opportunity and loudly announced Azog's death, claiming he was killed by the king. The dwarf army, reinvigorated, fought with renewed vigor. They charged at the half-orcs, each dwarf seemingly possessed by a god of war, even daring to take on the giant beasts before them. Everyone watched from Raven Ridge as, under Dan's leadership, the dwarves chased the orcs, cutting them down like melons and vegetables. "Facts have proven that I was right," Aaron said, though he looked a bit unnatural. He knew that. Asog's strategy worked, but he didn't anticipate it would have such a significant impact. His initial plan was to drive the orcs back into their massive caves, considering that a complete victory. However, Dan took it a step further by sending troops to block the cave entrances directly. Simultaneously, the allied forces of Leaves and humans from the Valley City emerged. Thranduil and Bard led the charge, tipping the scales decisively in their favor. As everyone descended Raven Ridge, they found that all the orcs had been eradicated. Thorin embraced Dan warmly, then turned to the leaders of the elves and humans, expressing his heartfelt gratitude. Despite the victory, the cost was steep, with many lives lost. The peace they achieved was bought with countless sacrifices. The victory celebration was scheduled for the following day. Before the day ended, they needed to collect the bodies of their fallen comrades and pray for the warriors who had sacrificed their lives. Thranduil followed Thorin into the king's hall and successfully reclaimed the white gem, the national treasure of the elves. "I don't like elves, but the dwarves owe you this," Thorin said solemnly. "Also, I apologize on behalf of my grandfather. He may not have been in his right mind at the time. I hope you can forgive him." "We elves have made too many sacrifices for this cursed place," Thranduil replied blankly. "I hope you don't follow in your grandfather's footsteps." "No," Thorin shook his head. He took the Arkenstone from the throne in front of the assembled dwarves, elves, and humans, and then turned to Aaron. "Gaius, as the king of the dwarves, I present this gem to you." "Give it to me?" Aaron was taken aback. The Arkenstone was the king's credential, equivalent to the jade seal of the dwarves. Was it really appropriate to give it to a human? "Accept it." Thorin placed the gem in Aaron's hand. "This gem has the power to seduce people. I dare not pass it on to the next generation of kings. I trust no one more than you." "If you say so, I'll accept it," Aaron grinned. "But be prepared. I might melt it down and turn it into a weapon." "That would be great. Need a dwarf to help?" The forging skills of dwarves are unmatched in Middle-earth. Aaron waved his hand in refusal. While the dwarves' forging skills were indeed excellent, the weapons they forged were probably similar to the beast-biting sword. The heart of the Lonely Mountain was unique, and it was better to hand it over to his ancestor Alger after returning. He was a professional. As night fell, Aaron received a task reward of 100,000 magic points. Just as he was about to open his personal panel, he felt a warm sensation on his left arm. Rolling up his sleeve, he saw the faintly visible family crest of the Gaius family, a sign that he could go home. Seeing the familiar World Tree logo, Aaron couldn't help but sniffle, then laugh, though tears flowed uncontrollably. Endless grievances flooded his heart. God knows how he had endured the past half-year. He had often gone hungry, lacked warm clothing, and was constantly on the move. Signing the contract was one thing, but being jailed, chased, and nearly killed repeatedly, culminating in a dragon-slaying battle and a massive war, was too much. This journey to another world had been perilous and full of excitement. It wasn't quite hell mode, but it was certainly difficult. He thought it would be a long time before he could go home, but the surprise came unexpectedly. Go home now. No, there's one more thing to deal with. Aaron suppressed his excitement and lay down to get a good night's sleep. He was more exhausted than anyone else, having killed at least 1,000 orcs. The toll on his mana and physical strength was unprecedented, and his body needed rest. The next day, early in the morning, Aaron woke up from a restless sleep. He quickly washed his face and left his room. To his surprise, Bilbo also emerged from his room, packing his luggage. The two exchanged smiles without speaking and walked towards the city gate in silent agreement. "Are you going home?" Aaron asked. "That's right. I also notified Gandalf," Bilbo replied with a relaxed smile. "Thorin has inherited the throne, Bard has taken enough wealth to rebuild Dale City, Thranduil has reclaimed the national treasure, and the threat of orcs no longer exists. Everyone seems to have gotten what they wanted, and it's time for my journey to come to an end." "Really? I happen to think so too, Aaron said. As they reached the city gate, they found 13 dwarves, including Thorin, standing there. Gandalf approached them with a smile. Forgive me for notifying them, Gandalf said. Even if you want to leave, you should say goodbye to us. Thorin said with some dissatisfaction. I don't like parting scenes very much, Aaron admitted. He took out his wand and waved it lightly, and a silver-white raven flew out. But my Patronus will tell you after I leave. Bilbo walked up to the crowd and pondered for a moment. If any of you happen to pass by Bag End, well, afternoon tea starts at 4 o'clock, and there's enough refreshments. We're waiting for you any time. No need to knock. The dwarves smiled knowingly and bowed to Bilbo Baggins, as if they were waiting for orders at Bag End for the first time. Under the watchful eyes of the 13 dwarves, Aaron, Bilbo, and Gandalf each mounted a pony and began their journey towards the Shire. However, as soon as they left the range of Gushan, a white horse blocked their path. Prince Legolas, Gandalf said in surprise. Did King Thranduil send you here? No, this has nothing to do with my father. I'm here for him, Legolas replied, looking at Aaron meaningfully. I believe you still remember what you promised me. Chapter 289, The Drop of the Moon, Landing as an Upstart. That's why I didn't choose to go home immediately, Aaron laughed, pulling out the moon drop he had treasured for 3 years. What is this? Gandalf's eyes narrowed in amazement as he examined the bottle of purple solution. I've never seen such a magical solution. This is the essence of the moon. It can relieve all negative states and acts as a universal antidote. Honestly, it can even break the temptation of the Arkenstone, Aaron said, his tone flat despite the shocking revelation. Are you planning to use it to cure my father's face? Legolas asked, incredulous. If Aaron's words were true, then this bottle of solution was incredibly precious. Aaron nodded. I'm a doctor. I observed Thranduil's face up close. After using the moondrop to clear away the magic left by the dragon flame, it was just a common burn. With the resources of the Woodland Kingdom, treating burns shouldn't be a problem. It will take time to fully recover, but time is something you elves have in abundance. Thank you so much, Legolas said sincerely. Don't rush to thank me. 1 bottle is too much. 1 cup is enough. Let your father save some, Aaron advised. A cup is fine, Legolas agreed. Satisfied with the understanding, Aaron used transfiguration to create 3 small cups. He poured 1/3 of the moondrop into each and sealed them. One is for Thranduil, as promised. The other is for you, as a token of my friendship with the elves, Aaron said. Gandalf, a bit greedy, asked impatiently, is the 3rd one for me? It's not easy for us wizards. We constantly worry about the peace of Middle-earth. With an antidote, I would be more confident facing Sauron. Aaron gave him a blank stare and then solemnly placed the 3rd cup in Bilbo's hands. Gandalf, the old rascal, wasn't worried at all, but Bilbo was different. The One Ring was a hidden danger, and having this antidote was a form of insurance. Gandalf watched eagerly until Aaron put away the remaining moondrop, finally giving up his hope. Legolas, excuse me, but you and Tauriel? Aaron inquired. She chose that dwarf, and I respect her choice, Legolas smiled. Elves have long lifespans, and some things are best cut off quickly to avoid trouble. Aaron raised his eyebrows, silently praising Legolas. Many people understand the concept of moving on, but few practice it as wisely as he did. Gaius, where do you plan to go next? Legolas asked. If you have no plans, you can come with me to the Dunedain tribe in the north. My father asked me to find a traveler there. Hey, not interested, Aaron refused decisively. I've suffered enough in this world. Now that I can finally go home and rest, there's no way I'm continuing to take risks. Okay. Legolas wasn't disappointed and was prepared to start his journey alone. Ahem, Gandalf coughed. Actually, you could come to Rivendell with me. King Elrond, Queen Galadriel, and Radagast are all there. They would be very happy to see you. Aaron sighed inwardly. Nima, there are always people who want to complicate my life. Meeting these big shots would make it difficult for him to leave. No, I'm planning to go home, Aaron sighed slightly. I miss my mother. Where is your home? Bilbo asked curiously. Could you tell me if it's convenient? I might visit you later if I have time. I'm afraid that can't be done, Bilbo Baggins, Gandalf said, puffing on his pipe and blowing a smoke ring. His home is far away, so far that you couldn't reach it in your lifetime. Right, Gaius? you know? Aaron looked at Gandalf playfully. Since when? During the battle yesterday, your magic was too extraordinary. It made me suspect that you are not from this world. Gandalf chuckled. Can you tell me the rest? Answer now? Bilbo asked, his head buzzing with curiosity. You guessed it right. I was only going to tell Bilbo, Aaron replied. Are you from another world? Bilbo's voice trembled with excitement. That's not even written in the books. Perhaps you could T1 yourself, Aaron suggested with a smile. The moondrop is also a product of your world? Legolas asked curiously. No, it's my own treasure, unique even in my world, Aaron explained, spreading his hands. So you'd better save this potion. Gandalf seemed to have a sudden realization and looked at Aaron meaningfully. Is your self-introduction from before true? Of course. I am the best heir of the Gaius magic family. According to the ancestral precepts, those with outstanding talents must go to other worlds to practice at a certain age and spread the name of Gaius. Then those teachers you mentioned? Bilbo asked, still confused. And your ancestors, could they be true too? Aaron chuckled. Guess? Bilbo smiled mischievously. There was no need to guess. It was probably true. Gaius, you should be able to stay a little longer, Gandalf suggested kindly. Humph, Aaron gave him a contemptuous look. Don't think I don't know what you're thinking. Gandalf, you are very similar to my headmaster. You are a good man, but you always want to get something from me. If I'm not wrong, the so-called period may be infinitely long. Hearing this, Gandalf's face turned red, and the smile on his face froze instantly. It was impossible to deny that he felt embarrassed to be called out by a child. He had indeed thought that way. The crisis on the surface of Middle-earth had been lifted for the time being, but there was still an undercurrent surging in the dark. Sauron hadn't been wiped out yet, and no one knew when he would make a comeback. The wizards and the Elf King were Sauron's old opponents. They knew him very well, and it would be impossible to guard against him if he really targeted them. But if they were joined by a wizard with powerful and unfamiliar powers, the situation would be very different. Moreover, Aaron had fully demonstrated his wisdom, heart, and strength during the expedition, and he was completely trustworthy. It could be said that there was no more suitable candidate than him. It seems that I guessed right. You just want to catch me alone, Aaron said angrily. I tell you, even if I die outside, and jump off Raven Ridge, I will not stay in this world. During this period of time, I have suffered all the hardships that I should have suffered in my whole life. I am only 14 years old. Why should I suffer this kind of crime? Gandalf opened his mouth, wanting to try his best to persuade Aaron, but Aaron didn't give him the chance at all. Tell me, Bilbo, what were you doing when you were 14? Climbing trees, picking fruit, and playing with mud. And you, Legolas? I forgot, Legolas said angrily. That was hundreds of years ago. It doesn't matter. Just tell me if you participated in a war on the scale of yesterday when you were 14 years old, or if you ever fought a dragon when you were 14 years old. How is it possible? My father protected me very well. Aaron clapped his hands and then gave Gandalf a meaningful look. Others 14-year-olds are carefree. Look at me. Wouldn't your conscience ache for bullying a child like this? Although gray-robed wizards are not truly human beings, they must have some conscience. Otherwise, what is the difference between them and necromancers? Gandalf was speechless. It seemed that he couldn't keep Aaron. Ha, I'm just making a suggestion, nothing else, Gandalf said, trying to save face. Bilbo and Legolas looked at each other and scoffed at the explanation. Nothing else meant that Aaron wouldn't have reacted this way. You don't have any other intentions, Aaron snorted coldly, then rolled up his sleeves, revealing the World Tree logo on his left arm. I can go home already. Can we go and see? Bilbo asked, full of interest, feeling that his time to go home could be postponed a little. No, only the blood of the Gaius family can pass through the portal. It's a pity. I still want to go to other worlds to have a look. This is difficult, Aaron said after thinking. Unless I break through to the god level, I won't have the ability to travel between the two worlds. By then, you may already be dead, Aaron said, his voice tinged with regret. Bilbo's mouth twitched. Do you have to be so blunt? Aaron chuckled. Ha, it's okay. When the time comes, you can bring some souvenirs to my grave. If possible, plant a tree next to it, one that doesn't exist in this world. It would be like fulfilling my wish in a way. Sure, Aaron agreed, giving Bilbo a hug. He then bit his finger and let a drop of blood fall onto the Gaius crest on his left arm. Instantly, the phantom of a giant tree appeared, though it was much smaller than the one in the family secret room. A colorful door materialized in front of Aaron. The words on the door frame changed from "Born to Shine" to "Welcome Home," and a piece of parchment appeared. Curious, Aaron removed the parchment and read its contents. His expression turned complex. "What's wrong?" Legolas asked. "This is a contract," Aaron explained, puzzled. "But it's not for me, it's for my descendants. When Gaius first set foot in this world, he signed this contract. It increases the probability of my descendants coming to experience this world by 50%. "Then hurry up and sign," Gandalf urged impatiently. "I can't keep you here, but maybe your son or grandson can stay." Aaron sneered. "This world hasn't left me with many good memories. If I wouldn't want my children and grandchildren to suffer here." "How can you call it suffering?" Gandalf retorted eagerly. "You think this way because you joined the expedition team soon after arriving and chose hardship over beauty. Think of the Shire. Think of Rivendell. Aren't these places peaceful and beautiful?" Aaron frowned. He knew what Gandalf was trying to do, but he had to admit that the wizard had a point. This world wasn't all bad. He had just plunged into its darker aspects too quickly. Seeing Aaron's hesitation, Gandalf pressed on. "Aaron, I won't say much more, but your story in this world will be widely known. The friendships you've formed with wizards, elves, humans, and dwarves are invaluable. If your descendants come here, these races will regard Gaius as a guest of honor. Do you really want to let this immense, intangible wealth go unclaimed?" Aaron swallowed hard. After a moment of internal struggle, he signed his name on the contract. He didn't have any selfish intentions. He just wanted his descendants to be born into a legacy of honor and respect. Chapter 290, Going Home. No one can stop me from lying down. In the secret room of the Gaius family, the world tree exuded a mysterious atmosphere, and the connected stars twinkled constantly. The entire room became bright with starlight, as if welcoming the return of a king. The space trembled, and a colorful portal suddenly opened. Abe, who had been napping, instantly widened his eyes, fully alert. As soon as Aaron stepped out of the portal, a large white furball launched itself into his arms, nearly knocking him back. "Master, you're finally back," Abe said, rubbing his face against Aaron's with tears in his eyes. Good boy," Aaron patted its head in relief and hugged it. "You've lost a bit of weight. It seems you haven't been eating properly while I was away." "Master," Jin said as he walked into the secret room, "welcome home." Aaron nodded slightly. "You came just in time." Jin showed a faint smile, not explaining anything, and rolled up his sleeve. The family emblem on his arm was slowly fading, indicating that everyone in the Gaius family knew Aaron had returned. "Master, the bathroom has been prepared for you, and the kitchen is working overtime to prepare lunch." "I don't need any of that. I ate and drank enough before coming home," Aaron interrupted impatiently. "Where are my parents? Why didn't they come?" Jins hesitated, wanting to say something but swallowing it back. "They're not home, are they? Forget it, I shouldn't have asked you that. Uncle Jins, how long have I been away?" "Less than half a month." Aaron nodded slightly. This time was neither too long nor too short. He walked to the living room with Abe in his arms and laid down on the sofa, feeling completely relaxed. "Master, how was your trip this time?" Jins asked. "It was exciting," Aaron said, curling his lips. "I was in that world for half a year. I don't want to talk about the details, and you don't need to ask too much." Jins tactfully suppressed his curiosity. He knew that his young master must have had a remarkable journey, enough to transform his state of mind. Now that Aaron was home, what he needed most was not to clean up the dust, nor praises and flowers, but to adjust his mentality, or perhaps even his worldview. "Did anything happen while I was away?" Aaron asked. There was a letter from Hogwarts stating that third years are allowed to visit Hogsmeade on certain weekends. The head and wife signed the permission form before leaving. Mr. Arthur Weasley won the Daily Prophet's grand prize, organizing a family trip to Egypt with 700 galleons. "The pie that fell from the sky is big enough," Aaron said with great interest. But judging from the Weasley family's budget-conscious lifestyle, this money is definitely enough, and there will still be plenty to spare. In addition, young master, one of the textbooks you need next semester is the Monster Book of Monsters. This book is quite special. You need to stroke it to open it, otherwise it will bite. Understood. Is there anything else? Yes, Jin said with a smile. Today is July 31st, Harry Potter's birthday. Master, do you think you need to give him a gift? This needs to be arranged carefully, Aaron said, tapping on the armrest. Giving money is too vulgar, and it won't reach his hands. His uncle and aunt will probably use it as firewood. As for magic books, he likes Quidditch. How about a set of broomstick maintenance kits? I'll arrange it. Wait a minute, Aaron stopped him. His uncle and aunt won't let him touch his magic broom. Let's prepare a set of test papers for his cousin. What? Jins asked, puzzled. It's Harry Potter's birthday, but we're giving a gift to his cousin? I didn't say to send it directly, Aaron explained indifferently. Deliver this gift to the door of the Dursleys' house. The house was managed fairly, and the teacher's autograph was a prized possession. Knowledge can change fate, and the Dursleys definitely didn't want Harry to have that chance. They would leave the test papers to their son, Rye's cousin. The smile never disappeared. It just moved from Dudley Dursley's face to Harry Potter's. The corner of Jins's mouth twitched. The young master's cunning had obviously increased after half a month. Understood. By the way, master, about the rest of your vacation schedule. Shut up, Aaron interrupted directly. Don't mention any lessons to me. You have no idea what I've been through in the past 6 months. I'm exhausted. I finally came back alive, and I just want to rest and lie down peacefully. Young master, listen to me first, Jins laughed awkwardly. The Patriarch's order is that you can spend the rest of the holiday at your own discretion. Whether or not you attend classes depends on your mood. Aaron froze for a moment, suspecting something was wrong with his ears. But when he came back to his senses, he jumped up from the sofa excitedly, even feeling the urge to cry. Are you serious? Of course it is true. Jins nodded. This is what the head of the family and his wife have specially ordered. It is harmless for the child to relax properly when he is tired. Aaron took it very seriously. Although he could only relax for a month, it was enough to soothe his fragile heart. But lying down doesn't mean it's bad. He didn't have to attend classes this holiday, but he still had to find time to meet with his ancestors. The next day, after Aaron finished his breakfast, he planned to visit his teachers in the secret room and see their reactions upon seeing him. At that moment, a special news report suddenly came on TV. The public is reminded that Blake is armed and extremely dangerous. A dedicated hotline has been activated, and anyone who sees Blake should report it immediately. Black. Aaron looked at the portrait of a middle-aged man with curly hair on the TV and asked in surprise, Jins, is this the Black I think it is? Yes, Sirius Black, son of Orion Black. As a pure-blood nobleman, he has a strong talent for magic. If he had worked hard, he might have become a great magister by now. But it's a pity he wasted his talent during the prime of his life and was imprisoned in Azkaban for another 12 years. His strength did not advance, but retreated. Pure-blood wizard, Aaron sighed inexplicably. What did he do? He killed 13 muggles. What? Is he crazy? Maybe. Jin spread his hands. When the people from the Ministry of Magic arrested him, he laughed loudly on the spot, didn't even resist, and obediently followed them away. But Fudge using Muggle methods to arrest him is really urgent. Muggles can't do anything against a wizard, let alone Sirius, who is a powerful wizard. Let the Ministry of Magic deal with it. This has nothing to do with me, Aaron said indifferently, then picked up Ab and walked towards the family secret room. Opening the door of the number 1 secret room, Aaron saw the familiar forging room. Skillfully placing his palm on the black stone pillar, Alger's memory was summoned. Welcome home. How long have you been in the other world? About half a year. Neither long nor short, Alger commented impartially. It can be seen that you have grown a lot, both in appearance and in heart. Thank you for the compliment, Aaron smiled embarrassedly. Ancestor, I came to you specifically today to ask you to help me build a weapon. This is interesting. Don't you think the weapons I made during my lifetime are impressive enough? No, I want a weapon of my own, Aaron said as he took out the Heart of the Lonely Mountain. Heart of the Mountain, this is a gift from a friend in another world. It's priceless, but if it's just for viewing, it's a bit cheap, so I want to make it a weapon. Good idea. Alger stared straight at the heart of the Lonely Mountain. The mountain exuded a milky white light. This is an excellent material, Alger said, examining the stone. Even in my collection, it would rank in the top 20. Only the top 20? Aaron asked, surprised. What do you think is the accumulation of countless generations of the Gaius family? Lie? Alger replied. This stone is very ornamental, but apart from its beauty, its only advantage is its hardness. Aaron curled his lips in disappointment, but remained silent. But that's just the surface, Alger continued. This stone has another function. For example, it can strengthen mental power. If used properly, it can resist mental or soul attacks to a certain extent. Aaron's interest was piqued. It doesn't seem like it's just a fancy thing after all. You have two choices, Alger said. The first is to create some gorgeous jewelry for your future daughter-in-law. The decisive second, Aaron interrupted, his mouth twitching. He didn't understand why so many people were concerned about his personal life. The second option is to build a weapon according to your ideas. However, there are 3 different plans. First, you could build a dagger. This stone is barely enough for that. Second, you could build a sword. I can add some materials for you privately, and then ask others to enchant it, making it not weaker than the one you used last year. And the third option? Aaron asked impatiently. The third is to create an artifact, but don't get too excited. This stone alone is not enough. Aaron clicked his tongue in frustration. After a long silence, he said, Let's choose the third one. Are you sure? Alger asked. Building artifacts requires a lot of resources and a lot of time. Personally, I hope you choose the second option, which will help you a lot at this stage. The development at this stage is also for the future, Aaron sighed. What resources are needed? Rare ores, all kinds of magical materials, the more the better. Aaron suddenly showed a flattering smile. Ancestor, what are your stocks like? Impossible, Alger refused very seriously. If you choose the second option, I can spare some resources, but the third is too much. 1/10 of the inventory would be taken by you. What would the descendants of the Gaius family do then? Aaron was speechless. You can't even give up 1/10. Chapter 291. Early Retirement. A murderer escaped from prison. Alger threw the heart of the Lonely Mountain into the furnace, and the Arcan gem remained unchanged despite the thousands of degrees of heat. Well, it may take a little longer. You can use this time to collect other materials. Aaron nodded slowly, and then proceeded to the 7th secret room. As soon as he stepped into the secret room, Wayhet floated in front of him, his face full of relief. I knew you would return safely. Almost didn't come back alive, Aaron replied. I'm a little interested in this, Wayhet said thoughtfully, examining Aaron. You've become a lot stronger. Can you see my current strength? Aaron asked, a bit nervous. This time, he wasn't wearing a magic ring, nor had he separated his mind-body. He hadn't made any cover-ups. Wayhet hesitated for a moment, then nodded. If you don't look carefully, you really won't notice. You're just one step away from becoming a great magister. What exactly did you experience in another world? That's my own secret. I don't want to say it. It's fine if you don't want to say it, Wayhet said playfully. Are you interested in fighting me again? I can suppress my strength to a mid-level magister. Aaron waved his hand decisively. Having been beaten once, he had learned his lesson and would not fall into the same trap twice. No, thank you. It's a pity. I wanted to teach you some more advanced magic. Ha! Aaron gave him a blank look. I can't even fully master high-level elemental magic now, and I haven't used the ultimate magic circle many times. Even if you teach me, I may not have time to learn it. Not bad, Wayhet said with satisfaction. At least you know not to aim too high. Aaron shrugged. He liked to keep his feet on the ground. This was also why he didn't immediately use magic points to upgrade his strength to the level of a great magister. No matter how good the hardware is, if the software can't keep up, it can only be an empty shell. Ancestor, do you think Dumbledore can see through my current strength? If you don't shy away from your attitude, it's okay to perceive it at close range, unless you break through to the level of a great magister. Hearing this, Aaron felt a bit uneasy and made a silent decision. He had to wear the magic sealing ring when he wasn't using his mind-body. He wanted to develop quietly and then surprise that old bastard. Understood. I'll talk to Ancestor Flo first. I won't come here before school starts if nothing happens. Understood. Whitehead gave him a knowing look. I recommend you go to Diet's library. Some ancestors recorded their stories there. You can read them to broaden your horizons and relax your mind. I'm more interested in the magic recorded there. Aaron laughed awkwardly, then turned and walked into the 8th secret room. Ancestor Flo, your dear descendant is back. Flo's memory was summoned, and he looked Aaron up and down, a satisfied smile on his face. It seems that the harvest is good. That's right. It was a war that affected the safety of the world. I helped the good side win this war. Aaron scratched his head in embarrassment. Although I don't think they would have lost without me. But with you, many people will die less, Flo said meaningfully. Isn't it? Aaron froze for a moment, then gave Flo a thumbs up. Why don't you say that the ancestor is a psychologist? I didn't say anything, and you poured me a bowl of chicken soup. It seems that you are mentally healthy, Flo smiled self-deprecatingly. I'm relieved. If nothing else happens, I won't come to you before school starts. What you want most now is to relax, and it's really inappropriate to stay with us teachers. If you feel bored, you can go to Diet's library. There are many interesting things recorded there. Aaron frowned slightly, sensing an underlying message in Wilhelm and Flo's words. However, he chose not to dwell on it. Living in the present was more important. After leaving the secret room, Aaron took Abe to his small Sepha hop in Diagon Alley. Jins followed closely behind, with 2 other bodyguards trailing discreetly. Aaron understood that after several attempts to run away from home, these people were now on high alert. He knew that his current strength was still somewhat lacking, but in another year or so, they would no longer be able to control him. For a week, Aaron seemed to have entered an early retirement. Apart from collecting money when the store closed at night, he spent his time shopping, chatting, and laughing with other store owners, and occasionally playing chess with his uncle at Ollivander's wand shop. The place he frequented the most was the Leaky Cauldron, a hub of mixed company where news of the wizarding world could be easily gathered. Lying low really feels good. Aaron leisurely read the newspaper in his store. Beside him was a well-dressed young dragon, surprisingly sipping milk through a straw, the bottle's contents depleting rapidly. Master, don't you feel bored resting like this? Jins asked, bemused. You're still young. It's a good time to study hard. Hey, I'm only 14 this year. No, 13. What were you doing at 13? The old master had me learning about muggles and the history of the wizarding world, Jins replied. Aaron was taken aback. Nima, the elite of the butler world. Ahem. It's not that I don't know how to measure. I've killed at least 4-digit enemies in another world. I need a lively and peaceful environment to dispel the hostility in my heart, Aaron said solemnly. Besides, lying low isn't bad. I'll resume normal training tomorrow. Jin seemed to relax. I'll make a class schedule right away. No need, Aaron said hastily. I'll arrange it myself. Master, are you sure? Of course. There's no need to trouble the ancestors. I'll go to Diet's library and refresh my proficiency in the magic circle myself. As for swordsmanship, I don't need to train now, but I'm still a bit interested in hot weapons. In addition to these, I'll also explore other secret rooms in the family, go fishing, paint, ski, play music, arrange flowers, and so on. Just consider it leisure and entertainment. Ah, it's not impossible, Jins hesitated. It just feels a little inappropriate. What's inappropriate? Aaron said seriously. My parents said the holidays before school start are mine to manage. You can't control me even if I lie in bed all day. Okay, I'll listen to the young master. You should have listened to me from the start. Aaron pouted, turning a page of the newspaper. A photo caught his eye. The haggard, dirty, and messy man in the picture wore a ferocious expression, causing Aaron to gasp. Damn it, has this guy been taken back to Azkaban yet? Although Sirius has been imprisoned for 12 years, his foundation remains. A determined wizard avoiding capture by the Ministry of Magic can't be caught easily. Talent, Aaron said with a faint smile. How did he think of breaking out of prison? Master, are you interested? This is a current political hotspot. Everyone is interested. Aaron focused on Sirius Black's melancholy eyes in the photo. His mental state is unstable, but his target is clear. It stands to reason that he would have escaped sooner, so why delay it for 12 years? And how did he escape? Is there anyone to answer? None of this is known. Maybe it has something to do with Voldemort, Jin suggested. There are rumors that Sirius is Voldemort's most loyal servant, and he was released from prison this time to seek revenge on Harry Potter, someone speculated. I don't think so, Aaron replied, picking up Abe and closing the store door with one hand. As he walked, he continued, if he wanted revenge on Harry, he could have done it before Harry was exposed to magic. There's no need to endure 12 years of imprisonment, especially since he didn't resist at all when he was arrested. The young master is really quick-witted. I didn't even think of that, Jins admitted. Aaron stopped and gave Jins a knowing look. He was well aware of his omnipotent butler's capabilities. There was nothing Jins couldn't think of, and he often thought things through multiple times. It was just that Jins didn't bother with such trivial matters. Instead of going home via Floo Powder, the two planned to enter Cross Street through the Leaky Cauldron. There was a car there that Aaron intended to use to practice his driving skills on a whim. As soon as they walked into the Leaky Cauldron, a little fat man approached them with a warm smile. Mr. Jins, I didn't expect to see you here. What a coincidence, said Cornelius Fudge, the Minister of Magic, a little excitedly. Of course, there's also Aaron Gaius. Dumbledore once told me that Hogwarts had a very good student. I don't think that's nonsense. The heirs of the Gaius family have always been synonymous with excellence. Aaron and Jins exchanged glances. They didn't particularly like the Minister of Magic, but they couldn't be rude to someone who greeted them so warmly. Mr. Minister, why are you here? Jins asked politely. Looking for someone, Fudge lowered his voice. Harry Potter. What are you looking for him for? Aaron frowned slightly. And if you're looking for him, you should be on Privet Drive. Mr. Gaius, your classmate committed a little crime, Fudge said with some embarrassment. He blew up his uncle's sister into a balloon, and many people saw it. Whether this matter is big or small, it doesn't seem like something that requires the Minister of Magic to handle personally, Aaron pointed out. It must be related to Harry Potter, and there aren't many people who could get the Minister of Magic to come forward. Dumbledore or Voldemort? Hearing Voldemort's name, Fudge couldn't help but shiver. He forced a smile. It's not directly related to that person, but a murderer has escaped from prison. Aaron raised an eyebrow, intrigued. Chapter 292, Special Gift, Arrangement, Harry Potter. Suddenly, the sound of a car horn echoed from outside. Fudge immediately stood up. Excuse me for a moment, he said with a smile, quickly tidying his clothes before heading out the door. What's outside? Aaron asked curiously. A wizard's vehicle? That's the night bus, emergency transport for troubled wizards, Jins explained. It's normal that you don't know about it, Master, because you've never been in trouble. The trouble here mainly refers to being poor. Aaron's eyes twitched, feeling inexplicably relieved that he had some wealth. After a short while, Fudge returned, pushing a young man in front of him. It was the famous Harry Potter. Harry, why are you here? Aaron asked, surprised. Aaron, Harry responded, equally surprised. But his surprise quickly turned into frustration. I ran away from home and turned my aunt into a balloon. Did she bully you first? Aaron inquired. Harry nodded. I can tolerate what they say to me, but she insulted my mother. I couldn't control it. Oh, what kind of family do you have? Aaron said, exasperated. He then turned to Fudge. Mr. Minister, although Harry has caused a bit of trouble for the Ministry of Magic, could you do me a favor? Of course, Fudge replied, smiling a bit too eagerly. The Ministry has already dispatched the Incident Reversal Department to handle it. Her aunt has been restored to her original state, and her memory has been erased. She doesn't remember a single thing about the incident, so it was resolved satisfactorily without any damage. After finishing, Fudge looked at Harry and introduced himself. It's the first time we meet. I am Cornelius Fudge, Minister of Magic. Hi, hello, Harry said nervously. He had met Fudge once the previous year, but that time they had watched him take Hagrid away under the cover of the invisibility cloak. That's the way it is. There's nothing wrong with it, Fudge continued. So, I won't be sent to Azkaban? Harry asked, his voice trembling. It was just an accident, and the Ministry of Magic deals with many of them every day. If everyone went to Azkaban, the prison would be overcrowded, Fudge reassured him. Harry breathed a sigh of relief. Will I be punished, for example, expelled from Hogwarts? No, Fudge shook his head. He then added seriously, but I hope you don't leave Diagon Alley before school starts. Your accommodation has been arranged in room number 11, and you must return there before dark every day. Boss Tom will keep an eye on you for me. Okay, no problem, Harry agreed. This was actually a great relief for him. It meant he didn't have to live with his uncle until school started, and he could learn magic without anyone stopping him. All right, that's settled. I have to go. There's still a lot to do, Fudge said, greeting Aaron and Ginns before hurrying out of the leaky cauldron. It's really inexplicable, Harry said, puzzled. But then he thought of something. I should have stopped him. If the Minister for Magic can sign my permission form, then I can go to Hogsmeade. He won't, Aaron shook his head. And even if he signs, Dumbledore may not allow you to go. The young master is right. After all, Fudge is the Minister of Magic, and he has always been very well behaved in public, Ginns added. Fudge is not your parent or guardian. A look of regret flashed across Harry's face, but then he looked at the two excitedly. I didn't expect to see you here. It's normal to see us here. Didn't I tell you I opened a drink shop in Diagon Alley? I'll be in my little shop these days. If you need anything, come to me anytime, Aaron said. By the way, have you received the birthday present I sent you? Well. Harry hesitated for a moment, then lowered his head, a bit ashamed. You shouldn't have sent it directly to the Dursleys. Dudley took the gift box as soon as he saw it. The Dursleys didn't show it to me at all, and they kept that gift to themselves. I still don't know what you gave me. That's not important, Aaron waved his hands casually. Did your cousin look uneasy in the next few days? Harry nodded subconsciously. How do you know? The gift I gave you is a set of test papers, corresponding to each of Dudley's current subjects, complete with the autograph of the test paper maker. This represents the teacher's deep love for any student. The Dursleys would never give you such a gift. Hearing this, Harry opened his mouth in a daze. You are still the best, but this is too damaging. Really? Aaron raised an eyebrow. That's exactly how Dudley should be treated, Harry said with a small, excited smile. He was crying for 4 whole days. I've never seen him so upset. The young master originally wanted to give you a set of broomstick maintenance tools, but he was worried that you wouldn't be able to use your own broomstick, so he changed his mind. He hopes you can relax for a few days. Harry felt a bit flattered. Ron and Hermione had sent gifts to him secretly through owls, but Aaron had left the gifts openly at the door of the house, which had a different kind of impact. Come with me, Mr. Potter, Tom said, stepping forward with a smile. Room number 11 has been arranged. I've moved your things up, and your owl is also there. It flew here 5 minutes ago. Many thanks. See you tomorrow, Harry. We have to go home, Aaron said, waving his hand as he walked out of the leaky cauldron with Ginns. See you tomorrow. After getting into the car, Aaron asked meaningfully while holding the steering wheel. Uncle Ginns, the reason why Fudge personally arranged for Harry Potter is because Sirius Black escaped from prison, right? Am I wrong in judging that Sirius Black really escaped to avenge Harry Potter? I don't know, and I suggest you don't think about these irrelevant things, Master, Ginns said indifferently. Sirius has been imprisoned for 12 years. He is very dangerous, but he is only targeting Harry Potter. He poses no threat to you. Aaron nodded, not taking it seriously. With his current strength, he didn't need to be afraid even if he faced Sirius head-on. But one thing more is worse than one thing less. The next day, Aaron arrived at Diagon Alley early. As soon as he opened the shop door, Harry Potter appeared in front of him. This is your shop? Harry looked around curiously. Didn't you hire anyone? I did, but I was traveling recently, so I sent them away. But it doesn't matter. Ginns can take care of a small drink shop by himself. I didn't say that, Ginns interjected, coming out from the fireplace. It is necessary to hire people. Hogwarts will start school soon, and there are more and more students in Diagon Alley. You can arrange this, Aaron yawned, indifferent to the matter. The employment pressure in the magical world was not small, and it was easy to post job advertisements to recruit people. "Can I come here to work?" Harry asked excitedly. "You?" Aaron raised his eyebrows. "Didn't your parents leave you a fortune?" "That's true, but I still have 5 years to study at Hogwarts, and those galleons are barely enough," Harry said awkwardly. "And I'm sure I won't be living with the Dursleys after graduation. I'll need money for food, clothing, housing, and transportation. So—" "Needless to say, I understand," Aaron interrupted. "The work here is very easy. Watching the store, selling goods, and collecting money. 9 to 5, with a 2-hour break at noon. Food is not provided, but it doesn't matter to you since Fudge has invited you to live in the Leaky Cauldron until school starts. There are only 3 weeks before the start of school, so your salary won't be too high. How about 30 galleons? Okay, Harry immediately agreed. 30 galleons, 10 galleons a week, was enough for him to spend before school started. Very good. Aaron took out 30 gold galleons from the counter and placed them in Harry's hands. This is your salary for this period of time. Work hard. Thank you, Harry said, feeling a mix of gratitude and determination. That's not appropriate, Harry said a little stiffly. I haven't done anything yet. The advance payment will save you from going to Gringotts to withdraw money, Aaron replied. Thank you, boss. You're welcome. Aaron waved his hand dismissively. The salary was considered low by wizarding standards, but Harry Potter was only 13 years old. An underage wizard should be satisfied with having a job at all. The treatment here was definitely better than in other shops in Diagon Alley. Harry sat in front of the counter, feeling a bit uncomfortable at first. However, after serving a few customers, he became more proficient in his new role. This was the first time he had interacted with so many different wizards since he had been introduced to the magical world, and he found it to be a unique kind of fun. The only thing he had to be careful about was covering the scar on his forehead. Without doing so, it would be nearly impossible to work safely given his fame. When there were no customers, Harry could sneak in some time to flip through a magic book or work on the thesis assigned by his professor. This was 100 times better than being at Vernon's house. In the back room, Aaron was practicing the depiction of advanced magic circles. He was very pleased to see the hard work of his new employee, especially when he closed the store at night and found it spotless. The accounts on the counter were also neatly organized, which made him even more satisfied. He even pondered whether to give Harry a raise. Chapter 293, The Omen of Death Before School Begins. As the start date of Hogwarts approached, Harry Potter found his workload increasing. However, Aaron, considering himself a benevolent employer, generously gave Harry a small bonus. Every day, Harry would leave at noon and return precisely at 2 o'clock, though he seemed increasingly distracted. What's wrong with you? Aaron asked curiously. You've seemed a bit off for the past few days. Firebolt. Harry replied after a moment of hesitation. The new magic broom at the Quidditch boutique. I've never seen such a magnificent broom. It can accelerate from rest to 150 miles per hour in 10 seconds. Aaron raised an eyebrow. You want it? Of course I do, Harry said instinctively, but a look of frustration quickly crossed his face. But I can't afford it. The product description says the price is negotiable. Very self-aware, Aaron nodded. Unless you deplete the inheritance left to you by your parents at your current earning rate, it will take at least 10 years to buy it. That long? Harry gasped. And that's assuming I don't eat or drink. No matter how much he loved Quidditch, Harry knew he couldn't go without food or drink for 10 years. He hoped to find a high-paying job after graduation. Otherwise, he might never get to fly a firebolt. Actually, there is a way to get money quickly, Aaron said, pushing today's daily profit into Harry's hands. Look carefully. Sirius Black? Harry looked at the photo in the newspaper and then at Aaron in astonishment. Wait, you're not talking about a reward, are you? If you catch him, the Ministry of Magic will give you a lot of money. The firebolt would be no problem. Let's just forget it, Harry said, feeling uneasy. I'd rather never meet him. It would be too risky to try and capture him. Hearing this, Aaron nodded in satisfaction. It was good that Harry understood the danger. The Ministry of Magic was very worried that Sirius would seek revenge on Harry Potter, and this served as a wake-up call for him. By the way, I need to take a few hours off, Harry said, somewhat embarrassed. School is about to start, and I haven't bought my wizard robes and textbooks yet. Understood, Aaron said empathetically, waving his hand. He then handed over the store to Jins and took Abe to the back room to study. During this period, Aaron had been focusing on the characterization of advanced magic circles. His proficiency was constantly increasing, and the time required was getting shorter. He could now complete a magic circle in almost 1 or 2 seconds. He was confident that he could soon break through to the level of a great magister, able to release elemental magic comparable to difficult spells instantly. Moreover, Aaron was already familiar with elementary and intermediate magic circles, and could release them at will without even drawing them. However, releasing multiple magic circles at once was still challenging, requiring continuous practice. In the afternoon, Harry returned with the textbooks and daily necessities needed for the new school year, but he seemed particularly heavy-hearted, as if possessed by a spirit. "Mr. Jins, are you well informed about the omens of death?" Harry asked nervously. "Why are you asking this?" Jins frowned. "I saw a black dog the size of a bear on the cover of a book at Lehen bookstore, and I think I saw the exact same creature the night I left Privet Drive." "That might be a coincidence," Jins said indifferently. "Maybe you just saw a stray dog." Harry breathed a sigh of relief, though he might have been deluding himself. But Jins's next sentence made him suppress that fleeting hope. "There is also a possibility that the death you encounter next may have something to do with that black dog. To see you, Aaron." "Sounds like a plan," Aaron agreed, smiling. "Let's head over." As they walked towards the leaky cauldron, the bustling streets of Diagon Alley were filled with wizards and witches, all preparing for the new school year. The air was thick with excitement, and the scent of freshly baked goods from nearby shops. "So, Aaron," Hermione began, "what have you been working on all summer? Harry mentioned you were quite busy." Aaron chuckled. "I've been diving deep into some advanced magical studies. It's been intense, but I feel like I've learned a lot." "That's impressive," Ron said, his eyes wide with admiration. "I can barely keep up with our regular homework." "Don't sell yourself short, Ron," Aaron replied. "Everyone has their strengths. Besides, it's not all about studying. I've had my fair share of fun, too." As they entered the leaky cauldron, the familiar warmth and chatter of the pub enveloped them. The Weasley family was gathered around a large table, their faces lighting up as they saw the group approach. "Mum, Dad, look who I found!" Ron exclaimed, pointing to Aaron. Mrs. Weasley beamed. "Aaron, dear, it's so good to see you. Come, join us for lunch." "Thank you, Mrs. Weasley," Aaron said, taking a seat. "It's great to see you all again." The table was soon filled with laughter and conversation as they shared stories of their summer adventures. Aaron felt a sense of belonging and warmth that he cherished deeply. "So, Aaron," Mr. Weasley said, leaning in, "any exciting plans for the new school year?" Aaron smiled thoughtfully. "I'm looking forward to continuing my studies and maybe even taking on some new challenges. But most of all, I'm excited to spend time with all of you." As the afternoon wore on, the group enjoyed their meal and each other's company. The bonds of friendship and family grew stronger, and the anticipation for the new school year filled the air. Eventually, it was time to leave. Aaron stood up, feeling a sense of contentment. "Thank you for the wonderful lunch, Mrs. Weasley. I should get back and finish packing." "Of course, dear," Mrs. Weasley said, giving him a warm hug. "Take care, and we'll see you on the train tomorrow." As Aaron, Harry, Ron, and Hermione made their way back to Diagon Alley, the sun began to set, casting a golden glow over the cobblestone streets. "Today was great," Harry said, smiling. "I'm glad we got to spend some time together before school starts." "Me too," Aaron agreed. "Let's make this year the best one yet." With that, they parted ways, each heading back to their respective homes, their hearts full of hope and excitement for the adventures that awaited them at Hogwarts. Aaron turned his head and gave Jins a look that clearly said, "You shouldn't follow me on this occasion." Jins hesitated for a moment, then nodded. The young master was not weak now, so he didn't need constant supervision. Besides, this was Diagon Alley, and there were 2 magisters secretly protecting the area, so safety was assured. Walking out of the store, Aaron suddenly felt a sense of relief. Although there were still 2 brown candies in the dark, the biggest piece had been dealt with. "We have to go to the Fantastic Beasts store first," Hermione said calmly. "My parents left me 10 galleons to buy myself a birthday present in advance, and I plan to buy an owl." "Then shall we prepare a gift for you as well?" Aaron asked. Harry and Ron exchanged worried glances. Gifts for girls required careful thought, and their wallets were never full. A blush flashed across Hermione's face. "Let's wait until your birthday." Harry and Ron both sighed in relief, but then they met Hermione's resentful eyes. "What do you mean? Is it difficult to prepare a gift for me?" Sensing the danger in Hermione's gaze, Harry quickly laughed and led the way. "The Fantastic Beasts store is right ahead. I know it well." Ron mentioned his mouse, Scabbers. "I was planning to take him there for a checkup. He seemed unaccustomed to the environment in Egypt. Since we returned, he's been thinner and hasn't been eating well." Hermione rolled her eyes in disgust, silently lamenting her choice of friends, and then pulled Aaron along to follow. "Where did you go on summer vacation?" Hermione asked curiously. "When I called, your mother said you were on a trip." "It was indeed a meaningful trip," Aaron said with emotion. But then he realized something, and his heart skipped a beat. His expression became unnatural. "Did my mother say anything else?" "No, she was just a little too enthusiastic. She asked me about some of my preferences," Hermione said, snapping her fingers, "including the food I like, the colors I like, the scenery I like, and what I like." As she spoke, she noticed Aaron's face becoming particularly animated. "Is there a problem?" "No, not at all," Aaron replied, wanting to cry without tears. He thought of how his parents had arranged a fiancée for him before he left. He was even more worried that his mother had contacted more than one girl. It was entirely possible she would do such a thing. Chapter 294. Bargaining at the Cat and Mouse Fantastic Beasts store. The Fantastic Beasts store was filled with cages hanging densely on the walls, each containing a variety of animals. Rats, owls, cats, salamanders, turtles, toads, poisonous snails, rabbits, and ravens were all available. However, powerful magical creatures like dragons, phoenixes, and thunderbirds were conspicuously absent. Even if they had such creatures, the store wouldn't dare to sell them due to the risk of immediate seizure by magical authorities. As soon as the 4 of them entered the store, the witch behind the counter focused on Abe and swallowed involuntarily. She had seen hundreds, if not thousands, of cats, but never one like this. "Are you here to examine the animals?" she asked. "Yes," Ron replied immediately, placing Scabbers on the counter. A look of disappointment flashed in the witch's eyes, but her professionalism prevailed. She put on a pair of black glasses and examined Scabbers carefully. "How old is your mouse?" she inquired. "I don't know. It was given to me by my brother," Ron answered. The witch picked up Scabbers, noting its broken left ear and the missing toes on its front paw. She couldn't help but click her tongue. "I suggest you get another mouse. We have healthy ones here." Ron glanced at a large group of lively black mice in a cage and turned his face away in disgust. He didn't think these second-rate creatures could compare with his Scabbers. "Okay," the witch said, taking out a small red bottle from under the counter. "You may need this mouse-strengthening potion." "How much is it?" Ron asked. Just as the witch was about to respond, an orange shadow leaped over Ron's head, baring its teeth at Scabbers in the witch's hand. "No, Crookshanks!" the witch shouted hastily, but the orange figure ignored her. Sensing a fatal crisis, Scabbers immediately jumped out of her hands and fled frantically through the door. Ron and Harry chased after him. "Is this a cat?" Aaron asked, looking at Crookshanks, who was now perched on the counter. "You should keep an eye on it. There are so many mice it could catch, but it just focuses on the guests' pets." "Sir, Crookshanks is usually very well behaved," the witch said shyly. "It's so beautiful," Hermione said, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "Beautiful?" Aaron thought, puzzled. "Hermione, are you sure you read it right? Except for its persimmon face, which looks like it was hit by a brick, I wouldn't believe it." "But I just think it's beautiful," Hermione insisted. She turned to the witch. "I'll buy it. How much is it?" 5 galleons, the witch replied. Hermione was about to take out her wallet when Aaron stopped her. 5 galleons is too expensive. Can you make it cheaper?" "It's already very cheap," the witch said angrily. "If you don't believe me, you can check other shops." Cats are priced like this. It scared my friend just now, which shows the cat isn't very obedient, Aaron pointed out. The witch hesitated for a moment. Is 4 galleons okay? With all due respect, the appearance of this cat is quite unique. It probably doesn't sell well, does it? Aaron pressed. The witch's eyes twitched slightly before she forced a smile. 3 galleons, 9 sickles. I hate to say it, but the cat seems a little older, don't you think? Aaron continued. 3 galleons, no less, the witch said firmly. Just as Aaron was about to speak, the witch stepped forward. I'm just trying to run a business. It's not easy to make some money. Ah, well, what about the rat-strengthening potion? Aaron asked. 2 sickles, same price, the witch replied. Actually, the cat's fur. Aaron began. Take it, sir, the witch interrupted, immediately handing the red vial to Aaron. She then looked at Hermione, who was standing aside, stunned. Can this lady pay for it? Oh, Hermione said, coming to her senses. She placed 3 galleons on the counter and happily hugged Crookshanks. Just to remind you, you were going to buy an owl, Aaron said, exasperated. I won, to buy an owl. This cat is enough, Hermione replied. She couldn't keep 2 pets. Anything, Aaron shrugged. Aaron was about to leave the Fantastic Beasts store when a witch hurriedly chased after him. Wait, sir, she called out. Could you leave a photo of your pet? I can pay you 10 galleons for promotional purposes. Aaron chuckled and resolutely refused. No, thank you, he said. He didn't want everyone to know that he was raising a dragon. Not long after they left the store, Aaron and Hermione ran into Harry and Ron. The shivering Banban quickly hid in Ron's pocket upon seeing the cat. You bought that monster? Ron exclaimed, his eyes widening. It almost took my scalp off just now. And what about Scabbers? It's a mouse. Why would you buy a cat? Don't worry, Hermione reassured him. Crookshanks is in my dormitory, and Banban is in yours. As long as they don't meet, everything will be fine. Is this really just a matter of them meeting or not? Ron said angrily. Look at Abe. How come it? Ron stopped mid-sentence, realizing that Abe was a dragon. Catching mice would be beneath him. Don't get me wrong, Aaron said lightly. My Abe doesn't like your mouse either. From the first time I saw it, I put it down. Abe let out a low growl in agreement. Ron subconsciously covered his pocket, noticing his mouse shaking violently. Don't scare it. Banban's condition isn't good, he said. Aaron shrugged and patted Abe on the head, calming him down. By the way, you forgot this, Aaron said, handing Ron a bottle of rat-strengthening potion. It might be useful for your rat. How much is this? Ron asked. The witch gave it to us, Hermione said excitedly. You weren't here just now, but Aaron managed to cut the price of Crookshanks by 40% and got the witch to throw in a bottle of rat-strengthening potion. It could have been lower, Aaron said with a hint of regret. I was confident I could get the price down to less than 2 galleons, but the witch was too clever to continue bargaining. When they arrived at the Leaky Cauldron, Arthur Weasley was sitting at the bar reading a copy of the Daily Prophet. He smiled upon seeing Harry. Harry, are you back? Mr. Weasley, Aaron said, extending his right hand. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you too, Arthur replied. Harry glanced at the newspaper in Arthur's hand. Hasn't Sirius been caught yet? No, Arthur said, shaking his head. The Ministry has mobilized most of its forces, but so far there has been no progress. How much is the reward for catching him? Ron asked with interest. Is it enough for us to travel again? Not just once, 10 times over, Arthur said, recalling the joy of their trip to Egypt, but his face turned serious. Ron Weasley, I warn you, put away those unrealistic ideas. There's no way Black could be caught by a 13-year-old wizard. We have Aaron, Ron said immediately. Aaron took a step back silently, not wanting to get involved. Sirius Black was not an ordinary criminal. He had killed 13 people and laughed about it. Aaron preferred to keep his distance from such madness. Seeing Aaron step back, Ron said nothing more and instead placed a newspaper on the table. There's something you should see. The three leaned over and looked at a black and white photo in the newspaper. The Weasley family was talking and laughing in local clothes in front of several pyramids. Egypt is a magical place with many ancient things, mummies, ancient tombs, Hermione said, her eyes shining with interest. The history of wizards in ancient Egypt is worth exploring. Aaron, where did you go during your summer vacation? Ron asked. Did you travel too? Ah, that's a secret, Aaron said with a chuckle. His summer had been filled with risks, not leisure. At that moment, Mrs. Weasley came in, carrying Fred, George, Percy, and Ginny, all laden with bags. Seeing Aaron and the others, they greeted him warmly. Mrs. Weasley even asked Harry several questions, worried that he might leave something behind when he got on the train the next tea day. The handshake felt a bit too formal, almost rehearsed, which made them feel slightly flattered. Percy's twin brothers, George and Fred, mimicked his greeting but added a humorous twist, making Percy's expression sour. Percy had been elected as the head of the boys' union, proudly displaying the silver badge on his chest, which he had polished to a shine. The second head of the boys' student union in the family, Mrs. Weasley said proudly, casting a disapproving glance at George and Fred. Why didn't you two get elected as prefects? Why would we want to be prefects? Fred replied, exasperated. That would take a lot of the fun out of life, George added. You should set a good example for your sister, Mrs. Weasley insisted. Ginny has other brothers to set an example for her, Percy said proudly. I'll go upstairs and change first. I'll be down for dinner later. As Percy left, George and Fred visibly relaxed. Aaron, what do you think of prefects? George asked. Naylor is a responsible prefect. At least the Slytherins respect him, Aaron replied. I'm not asking about Naylor, Fred laughed. Do you want to be a prefect? I don't want to, Aaron said firmly. Being a prefect is too tiring and the pay isn't worth it. Compared to handling my own affairs, the prefect's duties are just a burden. George and Fred exchanged approving glances. That's great, George said. The next time our mother complains, we'll use that as an excuse. Aaron could only sigh in response. Chapter 295, Professor Lupin on the Train, September 1st. After breakfast, Aaron, accompanied by Gins, drove an ordinary car to King's Cross Station. As soon as they took out their suitcases, they saw two dark green cars emerging from a narrow alley. Ministry of Magic, Aaron raised an eyebrow. But this is too ostentatious. It's the Weasleys, Hermione Granger, and Harry Potter, Gins observed the peculiar lineup. It must be Fudge arranging protection for Harry Potter. I guess Harry will have to be on his toes until they catch Sirius. At least he's safe at Hogwarts for now, Aaron remarked. The most powerful white mage of this century is there. Master, the train leaves in half an hour, Gins reminded him. Understood. I'm leaving now. You don't need to see me off. Aaron shrugged, pushed his cart into the station, and smoothly passed through the partition wall between platforms 9 and 10. Seeing the bright red steam train and the bustling wizards at the station, Aaron couldn't help but smile. From today onwards, his life would truly get back on track. Aaron deftly placed his suitcase in the carriage at the end of the train and began to find a seat for himself. He had arrived late, and as he moved from the rear to the front of the train, he found only one relatively empty compartment. As he approached, he realized why it was empty. An adult was sleeping inside. There were no other adults on the Hogwarts Express except for the staff and the witch who sold snacks. After a moment's hesitation, Aaron pushed open the sliding door and walked in with Abe. But as soon as he sat down, Abe opened his eyes and looked warily at the middle-aged man opposite him. "What's wrong?" Aaron asked. "His smell is weird." Now Abe responded in dragon language. "It's like a beast living inside him, like a time bomb in human terms." Aaron sighed internally. "What kind of luck do I have? If I had known, I wouldn't have tried to be comfortable. Even squeezing into a crowded compartment would have been better." Taking a deep breath, Aaron picked up Abe and stood up cautiously. The train hadn't left yet, and the man was still asleep, so it wasn't too late to change seats. But before he could open the sliding door, 3 people appeared outside the compartment: Harry Potter, Ron Weasley, and Hermione Granger. A piece of advice. Don't come in," Aaron warned. "But the other compartments are full, and there's no room for 3 people, Hermione said as she opened the door, with Harry and Ron following her. "Oh, this is life. 9 times out of 10, it is not satisfactory," Aaron thought to himself and sat by the window. "Aaron, who is this?" Harry asked, pointing to the sleeping man beside him. "I don't know either." "Professor R.J. Lupin," whispered Hermione. "It says so on his suitcase." Hearing this, Aaron glanced at the suitcase and felt a lot more relaxed. As a professor at Hogwarts, even if he had some hidden dangers, he wouldn't be a threat to the students. Understanding this, Aaron looked at the new professor with great interest. The man wore a tattered wizard robe, had some white in his light brown hair, and looked about 30, but appeared sickly. His suitcase was also tattered, probably at least 10 years old. This professor doesn't look like he's well off, Aaron thought. He's probably one of the poorer ones in the teaching circle. I see, Ron said with some doubt. I just don't know if he's qualified for this job. The position of Defense Against the Dark Arts professor seemed cursed. Quirrell was dead, Lockhart was in prison, and their ends were not very good. This one should be able to do it, Aaron said. Last year's Lockhart was a big joke. If Hogwarts recruits a professor again, there must be some basic assessment. No matter how bad it is, they'll know the basics. Hope so. I have something to tell you, Harry said, glancing at Professor Lupin to make sure he was still sleeping before looking at the three of them. Sirius Black may be looking for me. He wants to kill me, Harry said solemn. Lie. No way, Hermione exclaimed in a panic. How do you know? I overheard Mr. and Mrs. Weasley's conversation last night, Harry admitted sheepishly. But I really didn't mean to. They said that Sirius had been talking in his sleep the day before he escaped from prison, repeating the same sentence. He was at Hogwarts. They think he believes that killing me will bring the Dark Lord back to life. That's why Fudge didn't hold me accountable for blowing up Aunt Marge and put me in Diagon Alley with the Ministry of Magic escorting me to the train. Although I don't want to say it like this, Sirius may not have come to kill you, Aaron interjected. If he wanted to kill you, why wait 12 years? It's too sudden. Maybe they were preparing for a prison escape, Ron suggested, touching his chin. After all, it is Azkaban, and no one has ever escaped from it before. No. Aaron waved his hand dismissively. It's still suspicious. He didn't resist at all when he was caught. Maybe he knew he couldn't escape, and if he surrendered, he would suffer less. And he was still laughing after killing 3 people. Completely crazy, Ron added. Aaron blinked and then spread his hands. Well, I'm speechless. Black will be caught, Hermione reassured. Everyone is looking for him. At that moment, a faint whistle suddenly sounded in the compartment. What noise? Aaron looked at Harry's suitcase. What did you bring? I don't know, Harry said hurriedly, opening the suitcase. He found a small top-shaped object among his clothes. Ron gave me this as a birthday present. Is this a looking glass? Hermione asked curiously, examining the spinning top. It will light up and spin when there are suspicious people around, Aaron said thoughtfully. This is not a good omen. Don't think too much about it. It's just a bargain, Ron said dismissively. A magic toy, a shoddy product sold to wizard tourists. Harry nodded and stuffed the looking glass into a pair of old socks. He didn't want the little spinning top to wake up the Defense Against the Dark Arts professor. Harry, do you have any plans for Hogsmeade? Hermione asked excitedly. It's the only place in England without muggles, and it has a long history. No one signed his permission form, Aaron interjected, looking at Harry with some sympathy. You can think about what you want to buy in advance, and I can help you bring it back when the time comes. Thanks, Harry nodded sullenly. Why don't you try to ask Professor McGonagall? Ron whispered. If that doesn't work, ask Fred and George. They might know a secret passage out of the school. Hearing this, the corner of Aaron's mouth twitched. Are your brothers that good? Absolutely not, Hermione objected resolutely. Black hasn't been caught yet. It will be very dangerous for Harry to leave Hogwarts. I think so too, Harry said weakly. Trouble always finds me. It wouldn't be so dangerous if we were with him, Ron said confidently. Don't count on me, Aaron waved his hands hastily. You know me well. I don't like trouble. But you are the strongest among us, Ron said with some dissatisfaction. You defeated the Dark Lord when you were young. Low-key. This kind of thing should be low-key, Aaron said, a little tiredly. He was confident enough to defeat Black, but there was no need to drag a desperado. After a few hours, the sky darkened and the black clouds thickened. The witch pushed the food cart past the door of the compartment. Is there anything you need? She asked. Yes, Aaron said, skillfully taking out a galleon from his pocket. Give me 2 bottles of milk, 3 packs of chocolates, 4 bottles of fruit juice, 5 egg tarts, and 6 lollipops. Do you want anything? He asked the others. No, Ron said, pursing his lips. My mother prepared sandwiches for us. Should we wake him? Harry pointed to Professor Lupin. He might need something to eat. Let's add 3 more cakes, Aaron added. It's for our professor. Okay, the witch said, placing the food Aaron needed on the table. If you need more, just come to me anytime. Aaron didn't hold back, taking 2 bottles of juice and 3 cakes and piling the rest of the snacks in front of Abe. As it ate, Abe excitedly stuffed the food into its pockets. Its granary had been emptied by its owner a few months ago, and now it could finally store a little bit. The train continued to move forward, and as night fell, all the lights in the car were turned on. The rain outside grew heavier. The wind howled, and raindrops pounded against the windows, making a crackling sound. Professor Lupin seemed to be sleeping the entire time. If it weren't for his steady breathing, they might have wondered if he was still alive. I don't like this weather, Aaron said, especially on a long-distance train. It's so depressing. Be patient, Hermione replied, glancing at her watch. There's still half an hour until we arrive at the station. Suddenly, the train came to an abrupt stop. The speed decreased rapidly, and the wheels screeched against the rails. All the lights went out one by one, leaving them trapped on a bridge. Roar! Abe let out a low growl, quickly jumping onto the table and staring out the window with vigilance. What's going on? Ron asked nervously. Don't move, Aaron said, holding Harry back as he was about to go out and investigate. There's something out there, a lot of them, and... Before he could finish, a thin layer of ice formed on the window of their compartment, and the temperature dropped instantly. Everyone felt the biting cold. Seeing the black shadows flashing past outside the car window, Aaron couldn't help but swallow hard. And if nothing else happens, that disgusting thing is about to board the train. Do you know what it is? Hermione asked, shivering. A magical creature? You should have heard of it, Aaron said quietly. Guards of Azkaban, Dementors. Chapter 296, Dementors. Ron was shocked, his face turning extremely pale. Are you sure it's a Dementor? They're supposed to be in Azkaban. Why would they come to our train? How would I know? Aaron replied, equally puzzled. I remember now, Harry said suddenly. Mr. Weasley mentioned that the guards of Azkaban would come to Hogwarts to garrison. They suspect Sirius might come to the school. Good grief, all these jailers transferred just for one wanted criminal, Aaron said, shaking his head. But it still doesn't make sense for a Dementor to board our train. Boom. The room shook suddenly. A figure over 3 meters tall, wearing a worn black cloak, stopped outside the door. Fluorescent flashes, Aaron muttered, drawing his wand. The white light illuminated the entire compartment, revealing the figure outside. Aaron felt a wave of nausea just looking at it. He had seen disgusting things before, but never anything like this. The Dementor, apart from its cloak, looked as if it had been soaked in water. A gray-white, bony hand slowly protruded from the cloak, pulling the sliding door open. A strange atmosphere spread through the compartment. Harry, Hermione, and Ron were trembling nervously, while Crookshanks and Scabbers hid in their owner's arms. Mr. Dementor, there's no one you're looking for here, Aaron said calmly. We didn't invite you, so please close the door. The Dementor ignored him, simply glancing around before turning its head towards Harry Potter, showing great interest. It began to inhale, producing a gurgling sound in its throat, like a whistling wind. Harry felt a chilling gloom envelop him, his fear magnified infinitely. He fell into darkness, his consciousness becoming more and more blurred. Roar! Abby roared and swooped, knocking the Dementor out of the compartment. Harry came to his senses, panting heavily and drenched in sweat. Before he could fully grasp the relief of surviving, he saw the Dementor looking back at him, causing him to shrink back in fright. At that moment, he was most grateful that there was a professor in the compartment. Regardless of whether the defense against the dark arts professor this year was reliable or not, he had to be reliable now. Professor Lupin seemed to have heard his silent plea and suddenly opened his eyes. He quickly pulled out his wand, and a thick white mist swirled at the tip. The Dementor, seeing its natural enemy, decided to retreat. It seems our defense against the dark arts professor this year is reliable after all, Aaron said with a meaningful smile, then handed a piece of chocolate to Harry. Eat this. After being attacked by a Dementor, chocolate works better than tranquilizers. Harry nodded, tore off the wrapping paper, and took a bite. Feeling warmth return to his body, he reluctantly sat back in his seat. "Harry, are you okay?" Ron asked nervously. "I'm okay," Harry replied with lingering fear. "I heard a woman screaming, and for some reason, it made me feel very heartbroken." "That's the Dementor sucking your soul," Lupin explained. "You will see memories you don't want to see. You should thank this cat. If it hadn't knocked the Dementor out in time, you would at least be in a coma." Harry froze for a moment, then gave Abbe a grateful smile. "Is it really a cat?" Lupin asked, looking at Aaron in confusion. "Of course, a normal cat should be like that," Lupin pointed to Crookshanks. The big orange cat was shivering in the basket, still terrified. "Of course Abby is a cat," Aaron said without hesitation. "I've raised him since he was born." Ab raised his head in displeasure. It was a dragon and had the pride of being one. Aaron immediately glared at it, pushing down its proud head. "It seems to be an unusual cat," Lupin remarked, still somewhat skeptical. "I'll excuse myself for a while to talk to the driver." After Lupin left, Harry looked at the three of them, feeling downcast. "I feel like the Dementors are targeting me." "Be confident, Harry," Aaron said, giving him a reassuring hug. "Forget the word feeling. They are targeting you." Ab in his arms. "Compared to others like you who have lived for more than 10 years but haven't experienced much happiness, they are more likely to become targets of the ghost's attack. If you don't want to be helpless when facing a Dementor, you need to learn a defensive spell, a difficult one. The one where Professor Lupin drove off the Dementors?" Hermione asked curiously. "That's right," Aaron nodded. "It's called the Patronus Charm, and it can drive away Dementors." "Thank goodness," Ron breathed a sigh of relief. "Our defense against the dark arts professor knows this spell, and he will definitely be willing to teach us." "It's not easy to learn," Aaron said, giving Harry a meaningful look. "Especially for you." "What do you mean?" Harry asked, puzzled. "The most important factor in casting a Patronus Charm is happiness or hope. Not to be harsh, but how many happy memories do you think you have from these past 13 years? Hearing this, Harry pursed his lips. After he was 1 year old, he lived with the Dursleys, which was worse than an orphanage. His next 12 years were filled with hardship and misery. "You can think about Quidditch," Ron reminded him. "You're definitely happiest when you're on a broomstick." A flash of light appeared in Harry's eyes. "Thank you, Ron. I almost forgot that there are bright spots in my life." Ron felt a strong resentment towards Harry's uncle's family. This family was definitely not a good place, and Harry couldn't feel the slightest happiness there. "Aaron, do you know the spell?" Hermione asked. "I guess I do," Aaron nodded shyly. He was much better at it than Lupin. "Then you can teach us," Ron said excitedly. Not available." "Hey, you're still friends. Can't you help us with this?" "But I'm not a teacher." Aaron rolled his eyes. "It takes a long time to learn the Patronus Charm, and I have my own things to do. Among other things, I've signed up for 5 elective courses this semester, and I really don't have the time." "You also signed up for 5 courses?" Hermione asked in surprise. "Also?" Aaron looked at Hermione with a little doubt in his eyes. He had a mind-body avatar, and he could barely manage 5 courses. Hermione was only one person, so it seemed impossible for her to handle 5 courses. "She also signed up for 5 courses," Ron said speechlessly. "The worst part is that she, a Muggle-born wizard, still wants to study Muggle studies." "I personally think that Muggle studies is the most valuable," Aaron said solemnly. His identity destined him to deal with all kinds of Muggles. The more he knew now, the less he would suffer in the future. Then the sliding door opened, and Lupin took his previous place, taking a sip from the bottle by the window. "I've spoken to the driver, and the train will leave immediately." After a while, the lights in the private room came on, and the floor shook slightly. The Hogwarts Express train started again and did not stop until it reached Hogsmeade Station 10 minutes later. Aaron dug out an umbrella from his suitcase and got off the train under the umbrella. Because of the rain, the platform was more chaotic than before, and with the Dementors getting on the train, many people were still panicking. "First years this way," Hagrid yelled, beckoning the first years to cross the river in the traditional way. As for the students above the first grade, they went another way, riding carriages pulled by thestrals to Hogwarts. "Aaron, are you okay?" Draco asked curiously. Many people saw Dementors enter your private room. It's okay. Professor Lupin moved quickly. Otherwise, Abe would have definitely driven them away with a breath of dragon's breath. Professor? Draco seemed to have thought of something and frowned slightly. That man in your private room is the new Defense Against the Dark Arts professor? You seem a little dissatisfied with him. Did Lupin offend you? Draco asked. He is dressed in tatters with patches on his clothes, and his suitcase is falling apart. He must be at the bottom of the wizarding world. I don't think he has any abilities, Draco sneered. Aaron shook his head with a chuckle. Lockhart is considered an upper-class figure in the wizarding world, but in reality, I think Professor Lupin is a good fit for the job. At least he can get rid of Dementors. Draco was speechless, unable to refute Aaron's point. As the carriage approached the gate, the students felt an inexplicable chill when they saw a few Dementors patrolling the sky. The carriage passed through the gate, went up a ramp, and stopped before the steps leading to the castle. The crowd ascended the steps one after another, passed through a majestic oak door, and entered the auditorium via a marble staircase. Students above the first grade sat down at the long tables belonging to their respective houses. The ceiling mirrored the weather outside. Dark clouds loomed, but there was no rain. Potter, Granger, Gaius, come with me, Professor McGonagall called as she stepped down from the teacher's seat. What's the matter? Aaron asked in surprise. He didn't think he had committed any crimes that would require the vice principal's intervention. Don't be nervous. You didn't violate any school rules, but there are some things we need to discuss, Professor McGonagall reassured them. The three exchanged puzzled glances and followed Professor McGonagall. When they arrived at her office, she motioned for them to sit down while she took her seat behind her desk. Harry, Professor Lupin told me that you encountered a Dementor on the train, Professor McGonagall said with concern. So I informed Madame Pomfrey, and she will be here soon. I'm fine, really, Harry said anxiously. It wasn't a good sign to meet the school nurse on his first day back. The school hospital had almost become a second home to him, as he ended up there for various reasons almost every semester. He was undoubtedly Madame Pomfrey's most frequent visitor. Chapter 297, Unable to Refuse Course Selection Arrangement. It's not that you're fine just because you say so. Professor McGonagall's tone was particularly firm. Doctors have more say than you. As she spoke, there was a knock on the door, and Madame Pomfrey walked in. It's you again, Harry Potter, Madame Pomfrey said, shaking her head in exasperation. What dangerous thing did you do this time? It was a Dementor, Professor McGonagall explained. Madame Pomfrey's face grew serious as she approached Harry and touched his forehead. Cold and wet. The headmaster really shouldn't have allowed them into Hogwarts. It's not safe for the students. Harry stiffened for a moment before quickly responding. I'm not fragile. Of course you're not, Madame Pomfrey said absently, checking his pulse. Fortunately, the Dementors didn't cause you much harm. Professor Lupin cast the Patronus charm in time to drive the Dementor away, Hermione added. Really? It seems this Defense Against the Dark Arts professor is more reliable, Madame Pomfrey said, slightly excited. Compared to Gilderoy Lockhart, who was all show and no substance, this new professor seemed much more trustworthy. Professor McGonagall, Harry Potter is fine. He just needs to eat more chocolate. I already did, Harry said hastily. Aaron gave me some. Aaron knows a lot, Madame Pomfrey said approvingly, giving Aaron a smile. I'll leave now if there's nothing else. I don't want to miss the banquet. Wait, Poppy, take Harry with you, Professor McGonagall instructed. What about us? Aaron asked. I need to discuss something else with you. Your schedules, Professor McGonagall said, pointing to a stack of papers. I won't miss the banquet. After Harry and Madame Pomfrey left the office, Professor McGonagall looked at Aaron and Hermione with a hint of wariness. Aaron, Hermione, I know you're both excellent students, but you can't be so reckless. 5 elective courses, some of which are scheduled at the same time. Do you know how to clone yourselves? Aaron shrugged. I can manage with doubles. Hermione, feeling a bit guilty, still stood her ground. Professor, you know me well. I'm genuinely interested in all those classes, and I don't want to miss any of them. You won't be saying that when you're overwhelmed by the workload, Professor McGonagall said, though she couldn't help but sigh at Hermione's determined expression. She pulled out a gold necklace with a small hourglass in the center from a drawer. This is a time turner. By turning it, you can go back an hour in the past. You can use this to attend all your elective courses. Hermione's eyes widened with joy. Professor, is this for me? It's on loan to you, Professor McGonagall emphasized. I had to apply to the Ministry of Magic for a long time before they approved it, because you are a model student. Thank you so much, Professor, Hermione said excitedly. Don't thank me just yet. You have to promise me that you won't use it for anything other than your studies. I promise, Professor. Professor McGonagall didn't hand over the time turner immediately. Instead, she solemnly warned, there are some precautions you must understand. First, time is mysterious. Whether you want to go to the past or the future, you can only adjust the time within 5 hours. Exceeding this limit can cause great harm to you, and the time turner may malfunction. Secondly, your time travel must not be discovered by others, especially not by your past or future self, to avoid creating a closed time loop. Finally, this item does not reduce fatigue, meaning your study load will remain the same. I understand, Hermione said seriously, carefully hanging the time turner around her neck. Professor McGonagall, do you mean for both of us to use the time turner for our elective courses? Aaron asked, frowning slightly. This was very different from his original plan. The time turner could ensure he didn't miss a class, but its constraints meant it had to be used cautiously. The missing body is different. The avatar shares the workload. Although he may not be able to manage 3 courses simultaneously, he is confident he can make up for it. Plus, you won't have to worry about it, and you won't feel too tired. It depends on how you choose, Professor McGonagall said meaningfully, then took out a thick envelope from under the table. What is this? Aaron asked. Your butler sent it to me, Professor McGonagall explained. I must admit, Mr. Gins's research on the curriculum is professional. He added all the elective courses on top of the compulsory ones and formulated a brand new schedule for you. You can study up to 5 elective courses and make up for any that you miss on Sunday. The corner of Aaron's mouth twitched violently, and several clear black lines appeared on his forehead. Great gift, Crab. Gins is too controlling. He arranges my timetable at home, and now he does it at school too. Professor, this is inappropriate. Really inappropriate, Aaron refused with a smile. I can't waste the teacher's time because of me alone. I have a bad conscience. I knew you would say that, Professor McGonagall said with a smile. Mr. Gins has also considered this point. He contributed 1,000 galleons to several professors as overtime pay. On average, each person can get 200 galleons, which is more than a month's salary. He also replaced each professor's textbooks with the latest editions and promised a bonus of 1,000 galleons at the end of your 3rd year. Hearing this, Aaron blinked blankly, his whole body stunned. How the hell can you play like this? I can't find anything wrong with this arrangement, but I disagree, Aaron said, a bit speechlessly. I manage my time myself. It's not his place. Hearing this, Professor McGonagall shrugged, then took out a box from under the table and opened it to reveal a delicate silver watch. An advanced time turner. Mr. Gins specially prepared it for you. The effect is the same as the one I just gave Miss Granger, Professor McGonagall said, looking at the watch in the box and sighing. To be honest, I was shocked when I saw it. I have never seen such a low-key, luxurious, and connotative magic item. Aaron felt as if his heart had been stabbed. No wonder Vico and the others were so relieved to leave him in Gins's care. This preparation is a bit too comprehensive. Ahem. If it's not necessary, I don't want to travel through time, Aaron said. Professor McGonagall froze for a moment. Are you sure? I'm pretty sure. Okay, Professor McGonagall sighed. Mr. Gins also left you a 3rd option. Needless to say, there is nothing wrong with his arrangement, but this is my class, and I don't want him to interfere. Aaron said bluntly. No, this one is different, Professor McGonagall smiled. He specifically talked to Dumbledore and allowed you to freely arrange your courses. In other words, if 2 or 3 courses start at the same time, you can choose one of them, and the other 2 teachers will not treat you as skipping class. Aaron was speechless. Good guy, this is really irresistible. Hermione, standing beside him, was also extremely surprised. She hesitated to speak, but swallowed her words. She simply felt that the time turner hanging around her neck was not so special anymore. Half a minute later, Professor McGonagall left the office with the two of them. When they returned to the auditorium, the freshmen had already completed the sorting ceremony under Professor Flitwick's arrangement, and the 4 houses had received a batch of fresh blood. Professor McGonagall strode towards the teacher's seat, while Aaron and Hermione returned to their seats under the eyes of everyone. "Why did McGonagall want to see you?" Draco asked curiously. "It's hard to describe." Aaron smiled wryly and shook his head. "I thought Hogwarts was a paradise, but I didn't expect djinns to reach in." "That housekeeper of yours?" Draco thought of the man who was always so meticulous. Draco's face took on a curious expression as he pondered his father's high regard. "What I'd he do?" he asked. "He arranged for me to have an easier semester, but I wasn't very happy about it," came the reply. Draco raised his eyebrows in disbelief. "You don't know how to appreciate a blessing when you have one." "Maybe," was the nonchalant response. Just then, Dumbledore walked onto the stage, and the previously noisy auditorium fell silent. "Welcome everyone to Hogwarts for the new school year," he began with a warm smile. "I have a few words to say before you all get lost in this delicious feast. First of all, welcome to our new professor, R.J. Lupin. He has graciously agreed to fill the vacancy and teach Defense Against the Dark Arts. Good luck, Professor." Lupin stood up with a smile, accepting the applause from the teachers and students, albeit somewhat stiffly. The applause was lukewarm. Except for a few who had witnessed Lupin drive away the Dementors, most were skeptical of the professor in patched clothes. Lockhart's disastrous tenure had left a lasting impression, and many feared this new professor might be another disappointment. "Professor Snape seems a little unhappy," Draco whispered, and those around him discreetly glanced towards the teacher's table. Snape's face was as dark as a thundercloud, his usual stern expression now tinged with disgust and even hatred. "I bet Professor Snape has a personal grudge against Lupin," Draco said confidently. "Anyone can tell," Aaron replied. "But it also suggests that Lupin is genuinely competent. Otherwise, Professor Snape wouldn't acknowledge him as a Defense Against the Dark Arts professor." Dumbledore continued. "Secondly, Professor Kettleburn, the teacher of the Care of Magical Creatures class, retired at the end of last semester to have more time to take care of his remaining limbs. It is my honor to announce that his successor is none other than our own Rubeus Hagrid." This announcement was met with much stronger applause, especially from Gryffindor House, where Hagrid was particularly beloved. Overwhelmed with emotion, Hagrid discreetly wiped away tears of joy with the tablecloth. The position of professor was not just about the salary for him. It was a significant affirmation of his abilities and reputation. Chapter 298, Gain and Lose Again, Healing Ability. "Finally, there is something more serious," Dumbledore began, his eyes reflecting a hint of helplessness. "At the request of the Ministry of Magic, Hogwarts will be guarded by Dementors from Azkaban until Sirius Black is arrested. Dementors will be stationed at every entrance to the school. Although I have been assured that their presence will not disrupt our daily lives, I must remind you that Dementors are dangerous creatures. They do not distinguish between people and those who stand in their way. So I must warn everyone here not to give them a reason to harm you. Dementors do not understand forgiveness, but we can always find joy, even in the darkest of times, if only we remember to keep the light on." After addressing a few more matters, Dumbledore arranged for a banquet. The plates and wine glasses on the long tables were filled with all kinds of food and drinks, and almost everyone began to feast. Aaron took a few pieces of pumpkin pie and a serving of French fries, eating them slowly. Meanwhile, Abe jumped onto the dining table, taking advantage of his status as the group's favorite, and began devouring the steak on the plate. He eyed the chicken legs on the table and thought about the snacks others couldn't finish. "I can't believe Dumbledore actually allowed Dementors to enter the school," Draco said angrily. "They are the most vicious guards in Azkaban. My dad said that being targeted by them is worse than death." "It's really depressing, but it's not that bad," Aaron said calmly. "Even if the Dementors attack students, they will only target those who lack happiness in their hearts." Harry Potter, for example? Pansy Parkinson, who was sitting opposite Draco, said with a smirk. I heard he was attacked by a Dementor on the train and passed out. I didn't faint, Aaron interjected, noticing the curious eyes of those around him. What I said is true. That's such a pity, Draco said regretfully. I thought I could taunt Potter for a while. Draco, Aaron said, holding his forehead in exasperation. How much do you dislike Harry Potter? Don't worry, I'm fine. For your sake, the most I can do is scare him, Aaron sighed. Over the past 2 years, Draco Malfoy and Harry Potter had been at odds, and Aaron often found himself mediating between them, with minimal success. After enjoying the meal, Dumbledore announced that it was time for bed, and everyone returned to their common rooms. The password is the leader, Prefect Naylor informed the Slytherins in front of the door, especially the freshmen. If there is any change, I will notify everyone in time. Through the entrance, Naylor led the freshmen on a tour of the common room, extolling the greatness and pride of Slytherin, while the older students returned to their dormitories. The first thing Aaron and Abe did upon reaching their room was to check a piece of clothing left there more than a month ago. Abe almost cried with joy when he saw the pile of food in his pocket. Originally, there wouldn't have been so much left, but plans had changed. When Aaron traveled to another world, he retrieved the missing body, and the consumption of materials was only a quarter of what was expected. Aaron looked at Abe, who was proudly holding the granary, and couldn't help but laugh. Happy? Abe nodded enthusiastically and quickly changed into the clothes that had the traceless stretching spell cast on them. It's okay, just put it away for now, and keep it for this year's holiday. Abe's fiery mood was instantly doused with a basin of cold water. It seemed as if a pile of dark clouds floated above his head, with snowflakes falling from them. Look out, Aaron comforted. There are gains and losses. Abe raised his head and looked at Aaron with big, watery eyes. Master cheated on the dragon. Jinns taught me that the word is clearly called gain and loss. At least the food you have. Don't worry, this school year can still be salvaged, Aaron reassured, but I can't save that much anymore. Ray, Abe said, tears welling up in his eyes. Aaron had sternly warned him at the end of the semester not to take food from the kitchen or ask other wizards for help. This meant he could only rely on 3 meals a day to stock up, which was incredibly inefficient. It was a pity that he had just discovered a large granary, but he guessed it wouldn't be his for long. Be good, Aaron said, picking him up. Today, the master will teach you an important lesson. To be a dragon, you must learn to be content. You are mine, and what you hoard is naturally mine too. Abe was stunned for a moment. He jumped out of Aaron's arms, covered his head with the quilt, and let out a choked sound, clearly expressing his feelings. The master was bullying the dragon. I'm really afraid of you. I'll trade something with you, Aaron said. As soon as he spoke, Abe's crying stopped immediately. He jumped in front of Aaron again, his resentful eyes replaced by surprise. I've only been away for half a month, and your face-changing skills have really improved by leaps and bounds, Aaron sighed, speechless. Abe proudly raised his paw. How else could I get a normal ration from the butler, but he still ruthlessly stopped my supper? Hey, Aaron chuckled, thinking that Abe had basically met the conditions for survival. Even if he were thrown into the Wild Dragon group, he would do well. System, open the property panel, Aaron commanded. Host, Aaron Gaius. 9704. High-level Magister, high-end combat power in the magic world. Talent, rare in a lifetime. Magic energy increases by 4 points every day. Items, Moondrop, 2/3 can remove any negative spells. Resurrection Potion, can revive any creature that dies within an hour. Magic Carpets, 2,400. A full 2,400 points. Aaron nodded slightly. This number wasn't too high, but it was definitely enough for Abe to evolve again. After experiencing a trip to another world, he clearly recognized the potential of dragons. When Abe evolved to the level of Smog, a mobile natural disaster, he would be able to walk confidently in the wizarding world. Even if Voldemort returned to his peak, he would have to show respect. Thinking of this, Aaron looked at Abe with longing and then checked his property panel. Race Dragon. Magic Energy, 1438. increases a little every day, infinite potential, the king of dragon cubs. Innate abilities, flying, dragon breath. Hey, why is this number so ironic? Aaron smacked his lips, speechless, and immediately allocated a part of his magic points to Abe. With the rapid increase of mana, breaking through the bottleneck, a layer of white light appeared on Abe's body. The whole dragon hovered excitedly on the ceiling. After more than 10 seconds, he flew down excitedly and stopped in front of Aaron with a playful smile. Boom! Aaron flicked him directly on the forehead. Be serious. Abe immediately restrained his smile and squatted down on the spot. How big can you get now? Aaron asked. 10 meters, Abe said proudly. The dormitory was a little small, so he didn't dare to transform, but he was confident he could impress his master. Aaron raised his eyebrows and then checked Abe's property panel again. Race, dragon. Magic energy, 3000, increases a little every day, infinite potential, the king among young dragons. Innate abilities, flying, dragon breath, healing. When he saw the third talent skill on the panel, the corners of Aaron's mouth almost reached the back of his head. He didn't know much healing magic, and if he got injured, he could only rely on muggle methods. But now, Abe had made up for this shortcoming. After thinking for a moment, Aaron took out his wand and cut a gash in his hand. Blood gushed out from the red wound. Seeing this, Abe became anxious immediately. Without Aaron's instruction, he instinctively used his new healing ability. A small white magic circle appeared on Aaron's palm. The wound on his hand healed rapidly, within seconds, leaving no scar behind. This is amazing, Aaron remarked with satisfaction, mentally assessing Abe's healing ability. He concluded that as long as he wasn't missing a limb or suffering from a terminal illness, Abe could cure him. Abe breathed a sigh of relief, then looked at Aaron angrily. Master, don't do such dangerous things in the future. Don't worry, I know my limits, Aaron replied. It doesn't matter how careful you are. You scratched your palm this time, and I could heal it. But if you scratch your neck, I can't do anything about it, Abe retorted. Your master isn't that foolish, Aaron said, rolling his eyes. He hadn't lived long enough to end his life so recklessly. That's good, Abe said, patting his chest as if recovering from a shock. Aaron's expression darkened. He picked up Abe and placed him in a basket. Sleep well, he instructed. Early the next morning, the alarm clock rang at 6 o'clock sharp. Aaron opened his eyes and immediately completed his daily check-in. He washed his face, rinsed his mouth, changed into a clean wizard robe, and prepared his textbooks for class. He removed the magic sealing ring from his right hand, carefully feeling the surge of his full magical power, and then created a thought body clone. The feeling of having my strength halved is really uncomfortable, Aaron said with a light smile, spreading his hands. Now I can only be considered a high-level magician, and I don't feel safe. Likewise, the thought body clone replied, picking up the class schedule from the table. How many elective courses should I take? Check the class schedule. Whichever one I choose, you can take the other, Aaron instructed. And don't forget about the magic circle. I knew it, the thought body clone shrugged. Leave it to me. This semester, we can at least achieve instant casting of the advanced magic circle, and will continue practicing the ultimate magic circle. Aaron nodded, picked up Abe, and walked to the auditorium. The thought body clone had the same abilities as Aaron, so there was no need to worry. Moreover, Aaron had already used the thought body clone at school last semester and had gained some experience. As long as they didn't appear in the same place at the same time, the possibility of exposure was almost zero. Chapter 299, Divination Lesson. Aaron sat at the long Slytherin table, eating breakfast and examining his third-year timetable. He felt a wave of nostalgia. He could manage 2 courses simultaneously, but taking 3 at once meant he had to give up 1. He didn't want to give up any, so he needed to think carefully about maximizing his learning efficiency. Self-study wasn't enough, even with his photographic memory. To truly understand the material, he needed the teacher's guidance. Making up lessons wasn't an option either. Sundays were too precious, and he was already stretching himself thin. As Aaron pondered his dilemma, Draco and a few other Slytherins entered the Great Hall. "What are you thinking about?" Draco asked curiously. "You seem different after the summer break." "People change, but I'm definitely changing for the better, Aaron replied. How about I pretend to faint in front of Harry Potter later? Draco suggested with a mischievous grin. Childish, Aaron rolled his eyes. Even if you don't like him, you shouldn't resort to such low tactics. Besides, you weren't much better when facing the Dementors. What right do you have to mock him? All right, Draco shrugged. I'll save him some face and only talk about his glorious deeds on the train. Whatever, Aaron said dismissively. Draco began recounting the story of Harry Potter's encounter with the Dementors, making the surrounding Slytherins laugh. When Harry, Ron, and Hermione entered the Great Hall, they overheard Draco's tale. Though annoyed, they chose to ignore it since it was the truth and couldn't be denied. It's too much, isn't it? George said, placing the third-year class schedule in front of him. Malfoy always knows how to hit where it hurts. He was scared too when the Dementors came, Fred added contemptuously. But I was the only one who was attacked, Harry said bitterly. There was nothing more frustrating than an enemy who knew his embarrassment and spread it everywhere. That just means you were unlucky. It doesn't mean anything else, George said, trying to change the subject. Malfoy is still Slytherin's seeker. If you win the first Quidditch match, you'll see he won't be so arrogant. Harry nodded, feeling a bit better. The last time Slytherin won the Quidditch match was due to their superior brooms, but this time Wood had a new strategy. The key to victory lay with the Seekers, and Harry was confident in his flying skills. Let's not talk about that. Let's see what classes we have today, Hermione said excitedly. We're fine, but isn't your schedule a bit too much? Ron frowned. You have about 10 classes a day. Can you manage that? Don't worry, I've sorted it out with Professor McGonagall, Hermione said proudly, glancing at the necklace around her neck. But you have 3 classes at 9 o'clock today, Ron pointed out, snapping his fingers. Divination, Muggle studies, and arithmancy. No matter how good you are, you can't be in 3 places at once. That's none of your concern. I've discussed it with Professor McGonagall, Hermione said dismissively. She then turned to Aaron. How are you arranging your classes today? I'll attend the divination class myself, Aaron said, a bit embarrassed. As for the other 2, I'll see how it goes. Hermione frowned slightly, then pointed to the necklace around her neck. Why don't you come with me? No, Aaron refused. If I were going to use that method, I wouldn't have turned down the watch. What watch? Ron asked curiously. Aaron smiled. That's a story for another time. None of your business, Aaron retorted. At that moment, Hagrid walked in, carrying a dead polecat. He paused when he saw the group gathered there. I'm glad you all signed up for care of magical creatures, Hagrid said excitedly. My first class is just after lunch, so you must come. I've been preparing since 5 o'clock this morning, and I promise you won't be disappointed. Can you reveal the content of the class in advance? Aaron asked awkwardly but politely. It's not that I don't trust you, I just want to be mentally prepared. If you bring out a 3-headed dog, I need to know which way to run. Hearing this, the others couldn't help but swallow nervously. They had intended to congratulate Hagrid, but now they were more concerned about their own safety. What Aaron suggested wasn't impossible. Hagrid had a good relationship with the magical creatures in the Forbidden Forest. Even Aragog, the Acromantula, respected him. But those ferocious animals only respected Hagrid. If Hagrid didn't restrain them, it could be dangerous for the students. This has nothing to do with Fluffy, Hagrid said, widening his small eyes. The magical beasts I'm introducing today aren't that dangerous, so you don't have to worry at all. Really? Remember when you raised a dragon 2 years ago? You didn't think it was dangerous then either, Aaron said meaningfully, glancing at the polecat in Hagrid's hand. If I guessed correctly, this is the food you prepared for it, right? Hagrid subconsciously hid the dead polecat behind his back and smiled at Aaron. Very smart. May I ask, Ron hesitated, how big is it? Let me give you a hint. It's almost the size of a unicorn, Hagrid replied with a smile, then walked towards the staff table. Should be no problem, Ron asked nervously. As long as it's not as big as Mau Mau, Abe can handle it, Aaron said, stroking the young dragon in his arms. If it went all out, it could cover about 10 meters, and a creature the size of a unicorn could be taken down with a single swipe. The 3 of them breathed a sigh of relief. This was the sense of security that came with having a dragon. After breakfast, the students hurried to their classrooms for the first class of the semester. The divination classroom was at the top of the North Tower, and Aaron climbed the stairs for more than 10 minutes to reach the top. But there were no classrooms there, just a small platform where more than 20 students were waiting. Aaron looked up at the ceiling above him, where there was a circular trapdoor with the words Sybil Trelawney, divination teacher. "Looks like I need to bring a ladder here," Aaron muttered to himself. As soon as he spoke, the trapdoor opened, and a silver ladder was lowered. Aaron shrugged and climbed up the ladder, followed by the other students. The divination classroom was a mix of an attic and a chess hall. Several steps divided the classroom into different levels. More than 20 small round tables were placed on the steps, with armchairs and futons around them. Red curtains blocked the sunlight, and the red lampshades and tablecloths gave the room a hazy red glow. A fire burned brightly in the fireplace, and the shelves were filled with tattered playing cards, silver crystal balls, and teacups of various colors. "Welcome," Professor Trelawney said as she descended the stairs. Her voice was excited, but a little vague. "It's wonderful to finally see you in the material world." Aaron observed the professor. She was very thin, wearing large glasses and countless chains and beads around her neck. Trelawney looked a bit disheveled, quite different from the fortune-teller he had imagined. But it made sense. Professional fortune-tellers were often more mysterious than ordinary wizards. "Sit down, my dears, sit down," Trelawney said with a laugh. "2 or 3 to a table, please." Aaron took a seat in the front row, with Hermione joining him at the table. Harry and Ron sat next to them. "Welcome, my children. With me, you will explore the remarkable art of divination. Together, we will learn how to predict the future and discover if you possess the gift of vision," Professor Trelawney announced, raising her hands with an exaggerated smile. "I am Professor Trelawney. You may not have seen me before because I find that the chaotic and noisy campus life often clouds my third eye." "Foretelling the future?" Hermione asked skeptically. "Do you believe in it?" Aaron shrugged. "The magical world is full of prophecies. The reason I signed up for this elective course is that predicting the future is very important to me." "I didn't ask you that," Hermione frowned slightly. "Do you think Professor Trelawney's predictions will be accurate? She seems a bit eccentric." "There are 2 possibilities," Aaron replied seriously. "Either her predictions are particularly inaccurate, or they are very accurate. We will find out soon enough, but I am inclined to wait and see." "Divination is the most profound of all magical sciences," Trelawney continued. "I must say up front, if you don't have insight, there is little I can do. Books can only teach you so much in this field. Many wizards have special talents in areas like sound, smell, invisibility, and teleportation, but they may not be able to see through the veil of mystery. This is a talent possessed by very few." Aaron noticed that Hermione's complexion had changed. She prided herself on learning through books, but the divination class seemed to challenge her strongest talent. "Don't worry," Aaron said, trying to comfort her, though with a hint of amusement. "After all, most fortune-tellers use props like crystal balls, and books are indeed superfluous in this field." Chapter 300. The prophecy is accurate, but it hurts a little. "This year, we'll be learning the basics of divination," Professor Trelawney announced. "In the first term, we'll cover tea leaf reading and palmistry. In the summer term, we'll start learning about crystal balls. Professor, can you demonstrate your ability to predict for us?" Aaron raised his hand. "I think this will stimulate our enthusiasm for divination." The students turned their curious gazes toward Professor Trelawney, eager to see if she could make a prophecy about them. "True predictions often come as a surprise," Professor Trelawney said, looking a bit conflicted. She quickly changed the subject. "However, some simple predictions are easier." She turned her attention to Parvati Patil, a dark-haired Gryffindor girl. "Watch out for a red-haired man." Parvati froze for a moment, then glanced at Ron Weasley, who was sitting just 1 aisle away. She quickly moved her chair a little to the side, trying to put some distance between them. Ron's eyes twitched slightly. Although he wasn't particularly interested in Parvati, her reaction stung a bit. "There will be a bad flu that will close classes in February. I myself will lose my voice. Around Easter, one of us will leave us forever. The atmosphere in the classroom suddenly became solemn. If this prediction were true, it meant that someone in the room would die in April next year. "Honey," Trelawney said, looking at Lavender Brown, who was closest to her. "Can you pass me the largest silver teacup?" Lavender swallowed, but breathed a sigh of relief. Just grabbing a teacup, she was sure she wasn't the one who would leave around Easter. She took the silver teacup from the shelf and placed it in Professor Trelawney's hand. "Thank you, dear." Trelawney opened the teacup and glanced at it, a trace of regret and reluctance in her smile. "The thing you fear most will happen on Friday, October 13th. Aaron silently compared these prophecies and looked at Lavender Brown thoughtfully. If he wanted to gauge Professor Trelawney's prophetic ability, paying attention to Lavender's performance on October 13th would be the fastest way. "Now, each of you go to the shelf and fetch a teacup, then come to me. I'll fill the cups with tea, and you'll drink the tea, leaving only the tea leaves. Shake the teacup 3 times with your left hand, turn the cup upside down on the tray, wait until the last drop of water seeps out, and hand the cup to your partner for interpretation." Trelawney smiled and reminded them, "You can refer to the textbook Unfogging the Future to interpret the shapes of the tea leaves, and I will help you with any questions." The students immediately followed her instructions, taking teacups from the shelf one by one. When it was Neville's turn, Trelawney suddenly picked up a broom and dustpan and walked over. Click! The sound of broken porcelain echoed through the room. Trelawney seemed to have expected this and looked at Neville while cleaning up. "You'd better take a blue cup. The pink cup is my favorite." Neville nodded blankly and took a cup with a blue pattern. Aaron and Hermione went through the process as Professor Trelawney had instructed and then exchanged teacups. "What can you see in my cup?" Aaron asked curiously. Hermione opened the textbook, found the section on tea leaf interpretation, and then examined Aaron's teacup. As the seconds passed, her frown deepened, and her face showed signs of struggle. It's okay if you don't see anything. Your expression is scary enough," Aaron said. "I can see something," Hermione replied, taking a deep breath and continuing to scrutinize the teacup. Aaron shook his head with a wry smile and compared Hermione's teacup to the textbook. The shape of the tea leaves resembled a chain, connected end to end, but with a small gap in the middle. "Interesting." Aaron raised his eyebrows. "Professor Trelawney is definitely a veritable prophet." "What did you decipher?" Hermione asked. "Are you sure you want to know?" Aaron asked playfully. Hermione snatched the teacup from his hands, eager to see for herself. Hermione stared at her teacup, but she couldn't decipher the patterns even after comparing them with the textbook for a long time. "Tell me now," she demanded. Okay, Aaron replied with a light smile. "You will give up this class due to immense pressure, and it might happen around Easter." Hermione frowned. "Impossible, you must have made a mistake." "Wait and see. Let me take a look at mine first." Aaron took his teacup from Hermione, but he couldn't make sense of the patterns inside. The tea leaves seemed to form various shapes, almost as if they were alive. "Can't you see through it?" Hermione said triumphantly. "I even wonder if the tea in your cup is alive." At that moment, Professor Trelawney approached their table. "Expand your thinking. Let your eyes go beyond the boundaries of the world," she advised. Professor, I think I see it very clearly," Aaron murmured. "One of your previous predictions is about her, and I'm at least 90% sure." A smile flashed in Trelawney's eyes. Dumbledore had told her to pay special attention to a Slytherin student before the school year started, but she hadn't taken it seriously. Divination was based on talent, not academic performance. Now it seemed she had been reckless. This student was one of the few in the wizarding world with a genuine talent for divination. "Yeah, but he can't see through himself," Hermione said, curling her lips. "My dear, let me see," Professor Trelawney said gently, taking Aaron's teacup. She didn't need a textbook. She simply stared intently at the tea leaves, rotating the cup and observing from all directions. "How could this be?" she muttered. "What?" Hermione asked nervously. "I've never seen such a complicated fate," Trelawney said, her eyes widening with excitement. "The sword, the flame, my dear, the tea leaves show that you have experienced a tragic fight. What did you participate in? Was it a war? Aaron smiled awkwardly, but inside, he was in turmoil. Holy shit, this can be seen so clearly. Is divination really this accurate? He resolved to learn this subject, even if it meant giving up all his other courses. You must have read it wrong, Hermione interjected, dissatisfied. Aaron is only 13 years old. A tragic fight has nothing to do with him. Aaron swallowed and gave Trelawney a guilty look. She noticed the curious eyes around them and understood what Aaron meant. Maybe I was wrong, Trelawney said, not feeling embarrassed. She continued to examine the teacup from various angles. Short steps. You will go out once, but come back soon. Aaron frowned slightly. This was a good sign. It seemed his next out-of-planet trip wouldn't take too long. Wait, there is an endless staircase. You will have a particularly long journey. Aaron's heart skipped a beat. What does it mean to be long? It's too scary. Professor, what else did you see? He asked. Trelawney didn't answer. She leaned closer to the teacup, her eyes wide, not even noticing when her glasses hit it. Chains, portals, arrows, stars, vortexes, thrones, she read unconsciously. The teacup made click sounds, and a clear crack appeared, with dark red blood dripping from her palm. Finally, the teacup shattered. Trelawney came back to her senses, looking at the fragments on the ground in astonishment, the coffee-colored powder mixed with blood. Who are you? Trelawney asked in surprise. I'm just a 13-year-old wizard. There's no need to make such a fuss, Aaron replied. No, I can't predict your fate, Trelawney said seriously. The result of divination tells me that you will grow infinitely in all kinds of troubles and crises, even to the point where I can't look up to you. It's not that exaggerated, Aaron said awkwardly, but he believed the prophecy 90% in his heart. This was determined by his identity. He must complete the corresponding obligations according to his destiny. Before he grows up to be the god of magic, becomes the head of Gaius's clan, or gets married and has children, he must adhere to the clan rules. From this perspective, staying in other worlds might not be such a bad idea. At least he wouldn't have to bear those responsibilities. It could be considered a form of retirement in disguise. Believe it or not, Trelawney smiled, narrowing her eyes. Aaron's mouth twitched. Then may I ask, is there a time limit for this prophecy? I don't know. All right, I'm fine with that. Son, Professor Trelawney said hesitantly, your future is limitless, but this will be a considerable test of your psychological resilience. Thank you, Aaron exhaled slowly. I am fully prepared for this. Trelawney continued to walk around the classroom, occasionally answering questions from other students. Aaron, don't take what she just said to heart, Hermione comforted him. No matter how you look at it, it's all made up. Who knows? Aaron shrugged. The real situation is definitely not as exaggerated as she said, but it may not be entirely false either. The divination class is truly fascinating. It seems I need to ask Jins to prepare a crystal ball for me. Don't you already have a crystal ball? Hermione asked, puzzled. The grade is different. I need a higher quality crystal ball, Aaron said solemnly. If you want to do a good job, you must first sharpen your tools. A high-quality crystal ball is very useful for divination. Suddenly, there were exclamations from the side. Professor Trelawney had thrown Harry's teacup onto the table as if it were a hot potato. She looked particularly anxious and gazed at Harry with extremely heavy eyes. Dear, Professor Trelawney said, trembling, you are marked by an ominous fate. Not strong, Dean Thomas asked, confused. What do you mean by not strong? Ominous, my dear. It is ominous, Professor Trelawney emphasized. That big, sinister dog that haunts the cemetery is the most diabolical omen of our world. It portends death.